Live from Trenton, New Jersey, SativaCross.com presents Throwing It Like It Is. Here with your host, Jim Miller, William Haney, and Lefty Grimes. Larry Vargo, Dan Brady in the house. We've been out here every week, this year and last year. We will not be stopped. We are an unstoppable force. You have vexed the medical cannabis patients in New Jersey. We're pissed off. Look out. Patients are being victimized all over New Jersey. And we're here to call these people out that are victimizing our friends and family members. Stephen was just victimized, our friend Stephen, down in Lumberton. I can't hear you off mic. What'd you say? Grab a mic. I can't hear you.
Said I'm victimized. I live in Trenton. Trenton police do not recognize our cards.
Have you had a problem in Trenton with your card yet?
Not to this day.
Okay, good.
Not yet.
Maybe because of your skin color.
Very, very possible.
Yeah, because the patients that were hassled at the joint, there were medical marijuana patients at the joint, and the patients that were black were told that their cards were fake, and the patients that were white were told to just, move along, move along.
That's right.
And they arrested the black patients at the joint, took them in with handcuffs on, people that are sick, people that are suffering, and made them wait for hours in handcuffs without medication. And this is the way medical marijuana patients are treated, but black patients are even treated worse than the white patients.
As if they weren't patients at all.
As if we should be surprised. People are like, oh, Lefty, we've lived in the hood our whole life. We've been living this our whole life. But it's like the police are not following the law. The police are supposed to follow the law and treat everybody the same, and they're not.
They're supposed to know the law.
Yeah, they don't even know the cannabis law in New Jersey.
Before you can follow it, you have to know what it is.
Yeah.
So anyway, how'd that work out with the black patient that got arrested at the joint?
He had to sit in cuffs for 2 hours.
Where at?
In Trenton jail here.
Okay.
It took a senior officer to come in and say, hey, this card is real. You guys need to let this guy go.
And then who apologized? I mean, I'm saying, how do you arrest a patient, have a senior official come in, say the card's good, after being called a liar, a forger, and whatever else that implies, because of the color of their skin, comparatively to others who didn't get charged.
Right.
Shouldn't somebody apologize? Now, you went down and tried to set it straight. I saw a video of that. I remember you telling me, I don't recall seeing it because I watched spots of it. What did the desk sergeant say about that? Something about working it out in court?
Well, which time? The first time they said,
Well,
yeah, we don't accept cards. Go to court, work it out in court.
That's it. Go to court, work it out in court.
And that was a cop that told us that, the desk sergeant, I believe. And the next time we went there, the woman said, no, there's no medical cannabis law in New Jersey.
Is that when you said I need to speak to somebody smarter?
Yeah, and she said, oh, no, you didn't. Oh, that's what she said. She didn't know what. There's no answer to that. When you say, "Can I speak to somebody smarter?" What do you say when somebody tells you that? You say, "Yes, sir." No, right away, sir. Or do you say, "No, sir, I'm not doing my job"?
We know you're supremely smart, but there got to be somebody a little bit smarter than that, right?
So yeah, that was the second time. The third time, the woman said, "If you present your cannabis, you will be arrested." So Rowan took out her cannabis and presented it, and she was not arrested.
Oh, no, they meant if you're black.
Oh, if you're black, you'll
Take
be
out
arrested.
your
Yeah.
cannabis and
Scare
you'll be
tactics.
arrested, yeah.
It's all scare tactics and fear-mongering,
So-
which is what they've lived on for all these years.
Now, what you say is, finally, with medical marijuana, we overcame stereotypes of 75 years of cannabis to achieve this. And we all know that the drug war is rather racist, a racist term.
Rather.
Marijuana, racist
Totally.
against Mexicans.
It was based on racism.
And that disproportionately blacks are arrested for cannabis offenses that whites aren't. So now that it's all disposed, and you have a black patient who's got all his credentials and he's rejected from the program, so he's accepted. And I'll bet he thought the racial stereotype attitude would end there. I'll bet he thought he was in the fold finally, that he had legal immunity from this sort of, persecution. And not even close. So that's pretty disheartening. It just seems to me that this is something maybe somebody other than you or Weed Man or anybody in between should present at a city council meeting in a public speaking section, like somebody like me that they've never seen, sneak up on them and say that it's up to them to get the apology. That's their job. They're the city council, it's the police department, that they don't really have domain over it, but they, I don't even know what their function is as a city council.
Well, what's the council going to do when we go in there as patients and all whip out our weed and roll joints at the city council meeting? What are they going to do?
They should say, wow, you found a part of the playing field where we can't stop you. You're allowed to do that.
But no, they're not doing that. They're threatening us, just like the police are doing. They're threatening us.
Then it would be not a good arrest. You should really want to be arrested, right? I mean, that would be preferable.
Well, as long as I can medicate while I'm in jail, sure. Can I do that?
No, but if you can't,
No.
then you would have one of the pipeline for getting monetary awards as reparations, because by not being able to have your medicine, having all your papers, and being white, that gets settled out of court, and you'd have one in the pipeline. I'm surprised you don't have more in the pipeline already.
Yeah, we need to do
My
that.
friend Ben Mazzell, rest in peace, from Wisconsin, and he was an activist since '68. And I forget how many lawsuits he filed in his lifetime. But he always had 4 or 5 in the pipeline. So when one was being disposed, that was his living. That's what he did. He was good at it.
I made a living at that, huh?
Yeah. Well, that was back when it was even easier to get arrested. But if that happens, you're allowed to do that. And doing it in response to make a statement that, like, to back up to the lowest common denominator, you do have the right to do that.
Well, how about we get Dan Brady to come into this council meeting next week, okay? Dan Brady, you come with your tobacco, and you roll some tobacco. You're legally allowed to roll tobacco in the council meeting, right? So I'll sit next to you while you're rolling your tobacco. I'll roll a joint.
It's okay.
Are we having problems, technical problems here?
No.
No? Okay.
Table problems. I'm going to fix
Table.
Yeah, we got a table fixer. Larry Vargo, table fixer.
Shout out to Larry for
We got
fixing
this
the
one
table.
up. We wouldn't have this.
Man.
Wouldn't have that one.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I am Larry the Handyman.
LarryTheHandyman.com. Is there a .com? Is there how can people get in touch with your fine handiwork? Can you find you on Google or somewhere? All right, we'll find you.
I am on medical leave at the present time.
Okay.
So he doesn't.
You gotta know
work.
someone.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Say no more.
Yeah.
Winks as good as a nod to a blind man, eh?
Only work for good causes, and this is a good cause.
That's what I say.
That's Monty Python, ain't it?
It is.
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh.
Say no more. Say
Say no more. That's it.
I'm just saying it applied at that
It
moment.
does. That's
you know.
great.
I mean,
perfect. It's perfect. All right, Dan Brady, you're hired. We got a job for you. Rolling up a tobacco cigarette in the council meeting next week.
next week.
Thank you, Dan Brady. Bring your axe too. No, not your axe. Your guitar.
Guitar. You get fiddle.
I know how you get
Yeah.
guitar.
Yeah, you can't say because you say that and all of a sudden
There's an axe.
somebody's going to descend on you right now for saying that. You know.
Honey, I'm home.
Yeah, I was helping a brother moving into a 5th floor small apartment put something together, bunk beds. So I had more room, and I had a gas-powered nail gun. And I was bringing stuff across the street about as far as from here to the row houses over there. And I was in the doorway, and my friend was at the car, and I yelled, "Yeah, bring the gun this trip." And the entire street just stopped. Everybody stopped walking, talking. It's like for a brief second. I was in a Hitchcock movie. Yeah, it was not the thing to yell. Nail gun. Got to watch what you say.
Yeah, so last night we had the podcast in the evening, the kind of the shock jock thing. But we do a little activism on there.
You said
We do a little activism. And we called up Dad's Bar and Grill. Dad's Bar and Grill.
Yeah, well, reiterate Dad's Bar and
Let
Grill.
me tell you. Stephen has a problem with that place because
That's legal patient.
he's a legal
Stephen
patient.
Cuspowitz.
He's allowed to smoke cannabis there. They smoke tobacco recreationally there at this place.
Outside.
Outside. So he went out there to medicate with his legal cannabis as he needs to because of his sickness.
As he's allowed to.
Amongst the people that are recreationally using tobacco.
Yeah.
He's medicating to save his life. They had a
Well,
problem.
actually, they're more addicts. I'm not sure that'd be.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
supporting their addictive behavior.
So amongst all the tobacco addicts, recreational users, he's medicating with his medicine, and they told him he cannot medicate.
Who told him, actually?
The bouncers.
So somebody complained out there, or the bouncers saw him or smelled it?
Yeah, maybe some of the recreational tobacco smokers did not like the fact that he was trying to save his life.
Or
with
that
cannabis.
they didn't have any themselves and he wouldn't share.
Yeah, because they probably wanted to get stoned, and he was trying to
he's a
save his
patient
life.
saying this is the law, I
You know.
can't do that.
Yeah.
Allowed.
So yeah, they escorted him out, told him he could not use his cannabis. They said they were going to call the police on him. He says, "Thank you, call the police. I'd love to talk to the police."
Yeah, that's what I would have expected of him.
And they told him not to come back with your cannabis and get out of here, hippie, basically.
And then he left.
And he left.
Well, even Stephen has to have a point where he'd, not want to overreact, knee-jerk reaction. I like the idea of leaving at that point and having a plan. So, what's the plan?
Yeah, well, we're going to go back there and smoke them out.
When?
Very soon. I should play you the phone call from last night. Let me get that ready for you. Hold on. Let me get that up. We have technology. We can do that. Just give me a minute here.
I would think that, what we do here right now today isn't really all that interesting to the mainstream media. But and the police stations maybe not, but what you're going to do there, that's something that I can picture seeing 30-second spot on. Because that could be anybody's bar. It's representative of problems patients are having everywhere. That the law is not being followed by private establishments either, and it's not really up to them. So, who are you gonna call? I mean, you can't get the Attorney General's office on it and explain their guidelines because they don't even explain that to police. So, I don't imagine they're gonna go to business owner and have anything to do with it. I guess that's sort of a work it out in court attitude again.
Work it out in court.
Yeah, work it out in court. Well, every time they work something out in court, it costs the county, the state, municipality, it's costing somebody money. I mean, I suppose if you're guilty, you got to pay court costs, though. Well, it's coming out of patients' pockets, and that's less medicine for them. This is unacceptable. And I'd be real interested to potentially see that. It's, I felt bad. I was banned from the parking lot of Bar Anticipation in Belmar because they're having an MS walk. And that's where it ended. And the parking lot was all closed off, and they had vendors and all this cool stuff. And I had Cheryl's memorial wheelchair. And they said, "What are you doing?" So I'm handing out information about medical marijuana for multiple sclerosis. And a woman came over.
She said, "No, you're not."
Yeah, she was.
No, you're not.
She was squawking,
Oh, really? She was a squawker?
She was a squawker.
I had it right?
And then she told me that she would go in and that they would absolutely back her up on this. And I had no doubt. So what I did was it'd be like saying, okay, I won't be here. They come onto the property right up there. I'm going to be right just off their property at the corner of the sidewalk, and I'm going to congratulate them for finishing. I'm going to be the first one they talk to when they get back there, and I'll be sure to tell them why I'm on the corner.
No, you're not.
So what I did then was after a 6-mile walk, when they'd come in, I'd go, "Congratulations, you made it." And they walk right over. And then I
Awesome.
say, I'd love to be on the property. And they'd see the memorial wheelchair, and those who would stop, I'd point at her. And I'd say, and she was telling me that I can't be here. They kicked me out of the parking lot, her, representing the MS Society. They kicked me out of the parking lot.
No, we didn't.
So I stayed there for 2 hours doing that. And we had, I think, 2 or 3 MS walks covered that year. We were handing out information. And now, on the 25th, the MS Society and Compassionate Care Sciences, is that the name of the dispensary, Compassionate Care?
Yes.
Science,
Yes.
Service, one of the two? Which is it?
Compassionate Sciences.
Compassionate Sciences, yeah. Them combined with the National MS Society are giving a presentation on where we are with medical marijuana in New Jersey. The balls that the MS Society has, the National MS Society, to think they're just going to kind of slip back into New Jersey. Cheryl picketed their national office at 733 3rd Avenue in New York in picketed their office
Oh boy.
19 years ago. We picketed their home office here just to get them to discuss it.
This is not going to go good for them.
No, I'm going to show up, and you don't just
Boy.
slip back in. They want to tell people how we are. I'm going to be handing out information how we got there,
Oh,
and I
boy.
want an apology.
I want to go with you, and I want to film this with the GoPro.
This
Yeah.
is something that needs to be discussed. Actually, I'll get in touch with them beforehand. And I'm going to tell them, we can do this quiet or we can do it loud. In other words,
I like it loud.
Well, I do too, but that's my response to somebody's refusal to engage.
You know
So
who else
to
liked it
be
loud?
fair.
Cheryl liked it loud too,
Oh yeah.
and I like that.
Yep.
So
It
there you
was,
go.
It was tell the world, be as visible as possible, and then take your lumps.
Yeah.
But make sure everybody sees you taking those lumps.
Yeah.
And
So
that's what works.
it
So,
works.
I don't know what would be the right thing to do. They're not going to react to me too much one way or the other, but it's the National MS Society, not specific chapters in New Jersey, that I may still have a problem with. I may not. They got to throw Stephen Reingold under the bus. He's not there anymore. I found out in the mid-'90s, I got a copy of a 1988 internal memo that they just found out there was a successful study on Lewis rats and strain 13 guinea pigs using something EAE, which is encephalomyelitis something or other, mimics MS. And they had fantastic results in mice in 1988, which leads to human studies generally. They put out a memo in '88 on how to handle questions about it, how to handle it, how to deflect questions about it. And ever since then, when I first inquired about this to them, must have been the 1993 maybe, I don't know, something. They sent me back information, a packet of information, and one was a study done. This is what they sent, including when I asked about Cheryl, might this be good for her, that they studied death row inmates in New York. They asked them to fill out questionnaires and found that 67% had smoked marijuana before committing their crime, and what percent of them said that it had something to do with them committing murder. These are people on death row. They'd like to have mitigating circumstances so as to get it dropped to a life sentence. They're just trying to save their own life. And this is what they sent me. So that started the road right there to me being their watchdog. And when Cheryl, I don't know if you've ever seen an old picture of her, we were asked to Cures Not Wars medical marijuana / Ibogaine parade in May Day in 1997. So she was the only wheelchair front and center. There was 5,000 people following Cheryl down Fifth Avenue at a slow pace. And the sign above her chair and above me pushing it said the MS Society's Dr. Reingold is a medical marijuana liar and coward or something like that. It was, that was 97. It takes a lot to make that your headline sign. And then we went with a legal federal patient, Elvie Musica, and she smoked her medicine right in front of 733 3rd Avenue, their national headquarters. There's a really cool picture. There's Cheryl, and there's Elvie blowing out smoke, but it was wafting over Cheryl's head, and I was kind kind of leaned over in the smoke myself. But, shouldn't have to fight somebody, the largest research organization in the world. You shouldn't have to fight them.
What we do, that's part of the drug war that we're fighting. You know, I was waiting to find the front lines of the drug war, and we found them here in Trenton. They're where you're talking about. They're everywhere. These front lines are everywhere, and they each need a different kind of attack.
They do.
Chris Christie deserves a different kind of attack. Like today, our attack is meowing at Christie when he walks by. That's what we're going to do. I'm not above that. Neither are you.
You know,
We're going to customize it.
Hold on. What'd you say?
We're going to customize it just for you.
Yeah.
this is the sign. We have the cones out. Third day, third week we
Yes.
have cones.
I
out.
love the cones, Jim.
I
I'm a
do
big
too.
fan of these
And
cones.
this is the explanation sign there. Can you see that one? Yeah, that's a picture of, as you look at it on the left, that's former State Senator Bill Baroni. He's about to go on trial for Bridgegate for putting up cones. The one in the middle, of course, is the governor, and the one on the right was me. That was 2009 when I met candidate Christie and explained what a force Senator Baroni has been for medical marijuana in New Jersey. The rising young Republican senator in New Jersey, being medical marijuana's greatest champion, breaking down and somewhat crying at a committee vote when he learned the truth. He did his homework, he read, he listened to testimony, and he just went so on record being in favor.
It's a good barometer for truth.
Yeah,
the drug war.
what he said was, this is what I came to Trenton for, not the rubber stamping. I came here for the tough cases. I came here to make a difference. And when a man can't give his little girl a piggyback ride because it hurts, we can do something about it. We have to. And then he put his head down and looked like he was trying to make sure people couldn't see him crying. So what happened is, when I mentioned that in front of the governor, and when he won the election, Bill Baroni was offered a seat at the Port Authority of New York, New Jersey. And he took it. The rising young Republican senator left the field that he was in to take a desk job at the Port Authority. I can't have you being a senator here now that I did marijuana law. I'm going to implement it in a way that you will not appreciate, and if you go up against me, we are never going to work together, so why don't you triple your salary and take this job? And I think that's what happened. And then, of course, he's the one that was later testifying before a committee in Trenton that it was a traffic study, and he had charts and maybe pictures and a graph, and it was a traffic study. So now he's going to be up for trial, and I got a sign that says foot traffic study, we think, with the governor, former Senator Baroni, and me. And I'm going to put that out there in a little bit. I'll give it its own little stand so people know what the cones are for. And in a moment I have to, somewhere, or somebody has to, we have no signs up. Signs are just sitting there. We have no post-traumatic stress signs up.
Post-traumatic stress.
Yeah.
I have a story about post-traumatic stress.
Lay it on me.
PTSD is a serious condition prevalent in 60% of men and 50% of women in the U.S. Wow. That first sentence.
Say that again.
Wait a minute.
That percent.
Wait a minute. PTSD is a serious condition prevalent in 60% of men and 50% of women in the U.S. I didn't know that.
It's over half the population.
That's a new number that was just dropped on me.
Is that adult population? Because, you could probably leave out most of everybody that hasn't, they still see life as something that's fair and stuff growing up. They might not have it. That would even make it more astounding, though.
Wow.
Well, then I must have it, because if I was going to fall in one half or the other.
Yeah, I would take the half that I'm pretty much stressed over, because I'm pretty stressed over a lot of stuff. But but that kind of takes away from the people that are really, really,
that's what I'm
really
saying. Yeah.
suffering. I mean, I know people that don't
I'm
leave their house.
I'm not waking up at night because of my stress.
So I don't know about these numbers, but that's a crazy number. Wow.
Well, then that becomes more normal than non-stress. It's almost like 45% of the overall population is afflicted with lack of stress, because the majority would have stress.
Wow.
There's a book written, I think in the mid-'60s, called Future Shock. And what it described then was there would be advancements technologically to the point where information would be coming in so fast that no individual could come near processing at all, much less any one subject, that you have to rely on other people to be more knowledgeable in another field than yours, because there's just too much to know. That future shock would be when the future comes too soon. So when the future does happen at that rate, it's somewhat of a shock. So maybe that's why the post-traumatic stress, people can't keep up with the ongoing everyday life. Tell me, Leo Bridgewater,
Leo.
any news on the new family edition?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Don't make us ask. Come on, you never.
He's not here yet.
Oh.
No, okay.
But
Okay.
I am happy to report that this will probably be my last podcast for a couple of weeks. I
know why.
Yeah. We got the word this morning,
No.
so
When?
can't say when.
Okay.
Can't say when.
Okay, just blink with your left eye if it's 2 days. No, okay. Look up at the top of the tent if it's 3 days. I'm only kidding you, man. I watch too much TV.
Nah, and the only reason why I'm being cryptic about it is because that's
prerogative.
instruction from the top,
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
the missus.
The general.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
already knew. We knew
yeah.
what that meant when you said
Yeah.
it.
And you know what they say, happy wife?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
But I
know the hell hath no fury thing.
Yes.
I don't know about that saying though.
But today I am literally just coming back from voting.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, I took
In
my
Trenton.
son. I took my son with me.
Really? Was there anybody
And-
else there voting at all? In Trenton?
Not a lot. Like at that time, like when I was doing it, the worker there told me that 92 Democrats had voted and 11 Republicans, and that was about a half an hour ago. Yeah. And here's the thing:
In the city of Trenton.
in the city of Trenton,
And not just that precinct where you were.
no, just at that precinct.
At that precinct.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
then there's other precincts.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
could
There's
be
other
more than-
precincts, but
It is a primary, though. I mean, what else is going on the Trenton ballot? Anything?
no, not much of anything else.
Yeah.
But it's just the fact that, a week ago I went to a city council meeting and actually brought you up in this meeting.
Really?
Yeah,
I couldn't make it. My back went out.
I
had to go
saw
home,
you.
man.
I
was
saw
done.
you.
I was done.
I saw you. And the thing is that here's what bothered me. When I walked in, it was packed.
Really?
Yeah, I know, right? I know that shocks you. Like, the room was packed.
Why?
I was like, and my first reaction was, oh, they do care. I honestly, that was my first reaction. They do care. And then I looked around the room, and there were posters all over the room. And on these posters was pictures of everyone who had been killed in the last year or so, or what have you. And there was some kids holding a banner up that was the Not, and I found out it was the Not in My Neighborhood movement, and so, and it was all the,
What is that?
I don't know, it's something local, grassroots. I'm still trying to figure out what goes on here in this city.
Yeah.
I'm still, but it was a lot of the leading African American pastors in the city, and it was about and they did some symbolic roll call thing where they call the names out of the victims, and of course they don't answer, and and So, but I wanted to. What was interesting was I wanted to. I sat closest to the city council because I've already said what I had to say to the city council, and matter of fact, it was the same day that I testified here.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so that evening, and I wanted to hear. It was the first time I felt as though I had an opportunity to hear from citizens of the city of Trenton, and I sat there and I listened, and they talked about people dying, and they wanted the city council to hire more police officers.
Whoa. So they're for the drug war. So these pastors support the drug war and ramping up the drug war?
No. What they're for is they're for community involvement.
Okay.
Getting folks to basically they want to be heard.
But when you ask for more police, when the police are actually destroying businesses like the Weed Man's Joint, and you want more police to destroy more people's businesses and more people's lives, that seems to me like you're ramping up the drug war to me.
Okay, no. Let me explain. Let me
Okay.
explain the difference. Okay, they want more police presence in order to feel safe. Having more police presence feels safe, makes them feel safe. Here's the thing: attitude is what is what you're talking about in terms of the way they conduct business. As far as how the police actually police.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
I don't want more of that.
No, they don't want more of
I don't
that.
want more
but
of
they
that.
do want more of an effort. But they want more. Excuse me. They want more of a presence.
But see, historically, preachers have supported the drug war in the name of Jesus.
Well, here's the thing, because they're only looking at it from a moral standpoint.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? But here's the thing:
That's their problem.
But they're not connecting the dots to more. When you have a people whose economic needs are not being met, then what happens is that morality sort of goes to the wayside, because when you do introduce an economic means to provide for your family, such as the drug war, now it's not a matter of whether or not this person has a moral obligation to his or her community. It's more or less this individual is making this choice because they want to provide for their families. You understand what I'm saying?
I do,
So-
but if you gave me the choice between more police or more education, more teachers, I would take more teachers.
Yes, but here's the
I don't want more cops.
But here's what's unique to Trenton. We do not, this city historically, now, you can say historically, does not vote. I ran these numbers down before, and I'm going to run them down again. There are 58,000 people in the city of Trenton who are of voting age. Out of that 58,000, 38,000 are actually registered to vote. And out of that 38,000, last election cycle, like locally for the mayor and everything, 9,000 voted. So basically you have 9,000 people out of 58,000 actually exercising their civic responsibility by voting. So when I was sitting in city council last week and I was listening to these pastors, stand up and do their thing and basically have church in there, what bothered me was nobody said anything about voting. And the frustrating part is that as much as we demand of our city government, we have to at least do our part by voting. We like if there were 50,000 people registered to vote and actually voting, I would not be making this argument. I wouldn't be saying this is our fault and everything like that.
Yeah.
So if you have 50,000 people voting, your police department wouldn't be conducting itself like this. This would not be the mayor or the city council that we would have. So this is by design. And when you look at the number of children in this city who do not meet the state's requirement for reading, English, and math, and then you take that number and then you look at the number of adults who are not voting, no one's making that connection that those two numbers are related. Our children are a direct reflection of us and our household. So there are 49,000 people in the city of Trenton collectively teaching children how not to not vote. So this is going to be a generational thing. And if you look at the historical data, this has been the trend for over the last 20 years. This city does not own its property. So basically, 20% of the residents here in the city of Trenton actually own their home. And so we haven't had galvanized the people to re-engage in the political process.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
You went to the voting booth this morning.
I went live on Facebook with it.
When you walked in there, what did it sound like? Did it sound like this?
Yup.
Pretty much, right?
Yup. And you know what, though? Here's the thing. You're not even a resident of the city of Trenton. And as a resident of the city of Trenton, I have to admit, it's embarrassing. It is embarrassing. It's embarrassing that I have to say to it's embarrassing that I have to say to a person who is not a resident of the city of Trenton that we don't vote here. And then you look at the numbers. So when I was talking when I got a chance to address the city council, I was having probably the most direct, indirect conversation you've ever heard. Because the rule is you've been there, you can only address them.
Yeah.
But I wanted to send that message out to the pastors who were there in city council chambers. The city council even gave this one pastor, they all got up and they went to the front and they gave this one pastor, I don't know his name, but they gave him like some kind of a certificate of appreciation or something like that. And then he gave this acceptance speech and he talked about how he was going to take the little boys and little girls in his program up to the UN to show them the process there, how they do things there and everything like that. And then you had the other pastors stand up and they were saying, like one pastor showed a picture of a young person being shot here. What he looked like when he got pulled out of his car, how his body was riddled with bullets and stuff like that, and they want more police, they want this, they want that. And the whole time they're talking, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, 9,000 people voted. You only have 9,000 people voting. How could you stand here and ask for all this and demand all this, and you're not even willing to meet the city government halfway by at least voting? It's free. It doesn't cost anything. We're not voting. Here's the thing, and this is indicative. Trenton is just a microcosm of the rest of the country. So this is what's happening in the rest of the country. We're not voting. And on a local level, when I see how the city as a whole, the population, is also suffering from PTSD, the fact that they're not voting to me is a symptom of PTSD. And this city has a opioids abuse problem, which is probably par for the course for a lot of the other cities.
Statewide, yeah.
Especially within the African American, Latino community. White folks are catching hell from this too. And I also did some more research and come to find out when you look at the different municipalities, counties within the state, the border municipalities rank higher than the city of Trenton in high school substance abuse calls.
Well, you hear when I started the story, I think I started the story and you walked up. It was about PTSD. Check out the first sentence. Post-traumatic stress disorder is a serious condition prevalent in 60% of men and 50% of women in the U.S.
Jesus.
I'll stop right there.
Jesus.
I'm stopping right there. I didn't know that.
Yes, I did. I knew
You knew that?
Yes, I knew that. Yes, and you know what? Actually, if you were to take that information and talk to the average citizen, they could probably tell you, because they don't know. They're not. A lot of us are not educated on this, and there's a lot of poor assumptions as far as thinking that, PTSD. First of all, a lot of people think that the only way you can get PTSD is by going to war. Not really understanding that, how you feel about the police department and all that stuff, the things that we hear that's going on within the African American community, it's also PTSD. It's just, you just don't know what to call it. We're not educated on it. So again, there's a lot of education that has to go on. I never really try to, I try to stay in my lane as far as only speaking on my immediate community, which is Trenton, New Jersey. But in order for me to affect change here in this city, based upon what I see and the issues that I identify, I have to take this fight to the state level. And what you see and what you hear from me is all the motivation because something happened to me. A couple of my battle buddies tried to commit suicide. We're up to 22 veteran suicides a day, five a week here in the state of New Jersey. Just 5 a week.
Somewhere today, it's most likely
Somebody's
going
gonna
to
kill themselves. Yup. That's where we
more likely than somebody losing their life serving in the military. On any given day, there are good days when nobody loses their life while they're active military, as an example. Yet that day, 22 veterans kill themselves.
Now, on the local level, we're killing each other. You understand what I'm saying? We're killing each other. And I hold not only do I hold the city council and the mayor, but the activists, the pastors, everybody's 9,000. I don't care what you have done. I don't care what you, I shouldn't say I don't care. I appreciate everyone's efforts in trying to turn this around.
I don't appreciate the efforts. If they are asking for more police, I have a problem with that because the police are all they're after is the low-hanging fruit. I've seen how the police acted in Trenton. The police are going after medical marijuana patients in the joint, legal patients.
They're not making a distinction. There's no distinction.
I don't want more police.
Yeah,
I don't.
No, but let me tell you something.
Enforcing bad law.
Let me tell you something. Not only are the people of the city of Trenton suffering from PTSD, but so are the cops. They just don't know it. I mean, what happened at Weedman's joint, I told you, they were completely off of their mission statement.
If I was enforcing racist laws, I would have stress too.
Yeah.
I'd have a lot of stress enforcing. If I was a Nazi, I'd have stress too. If I was living back in Hitler's day, I'd have PTSD.
Well,
sure.
yeah.
I'm sure the cops have PTSD because they're following racist, hateful laws that ruin people's lives, ruin people's families, and they're just following it blindly like robots.
Yes.
Well, yeah. Maybe you should be stressed out.
Well, and then you also got to look at, again, attitude is a direct reflection of leadership.
Oh.
And if we didn't have, and if we were voting, who's to say that that's not the police director we would have? Who's to say that because your police officers are only going to act accordingly to their cadre, to their leadership.
Yeah.
So for them to conduct themselves in that manner and be completely okay with it, somebody from up high made that okay. And here's the thing: a lot of them don't even know to be embarrassed about it. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Again, this whole PTSD thing, and then on top of that, you have an inability. You've been doing this for so long, you have an inability to see me as a human.
Yeah.
And so what that does
You're
is
a suspect.
Yes, I'm always. I saw the study where they asked a bunch of police officers to look at pictures of 10 and 11-year-old black children, and ask and determine how old they were. They were saying these kids were 16, 17 years old. So you don't even know what we look like at a certain age, because as far as you're concerned, we all suspects. We all look we all look alike to you. You know
all
what I'm
guilty.
saying? Yeah.
You all look
so,
guilty.
And again, that comes from up high. That's a leadership issue.
Well,
that's a training issue.
It's also that exact theory applies to what goes on in trying to make our medical marijuana law better here, as evidenced with Bridgegate, where this allegedly happened without the governor's even consent, knowledge, planning, or anything. It was just assumed that he, well, no, I mean, it was just assumed it would, like, let's stipulate to that and understand that people, legislators, act accordingly when they're legislating. Republicans, 13 assembly people voted against post-traumatic stress being added. No Democrats voted against it. Why was that? It's not because it's specifically the Republican Party, but it's members of the Republican Party who are afraid of the leadership, the governor, his inner circle. So if they vote against it, they're not making waves. It's not like he has to give the order how to vote. Unlike with a police department, there's an order given. There's a directive given. But here, that doesn't even have to happen. And they look to the governor and how he's acted in the past and guess what he would like them to do. So when they get asked to vote to add post-traumatic stress to our law, they're going to think, a Republican voting for it, I don't know. So that's why 13 voted against it, none voted for it, and a whole lot abstained.
Well, here's
didn't vote at all.
Remember when I said, the first time we met, and I told everybody here, you really want to shake this building up? Register and vote, because what cannot be ignored is numbers.
Well, then here's a good idea. I used to do it long ago. I always have voter registration forms available.
Yeah.
We should have a sign, register to vote, and have forms available every day we're here.
Yeah.
And we don't vote whoever you want. Just start taking part.
Yes. Just register.
That is when, if more people were voting, we would get listened to easier. Just because there'd be more people that we would be representing that represent themselves.
Listen, man, it was. You have no idea how hard it was for me to sit there in city council chambers and listen to these identified community leaders, and not one said anything about voting. And the whole time, the number 9,000 and some change kept popping through my head. 9,000 people voted out of 58,000.
Out of a whole
9,000 people voted. I don't need, when I was in high school or junior high, and I failed a test. I got a 50 out of 100.
Damn.
And as soon as I got that test, I knew that was a crappy grade.
Test.
Yeah, no. I knew it was a crappy. I knew that was a crappy grade. Okay.
Teacher sucks,
and
man.
here's the thing. I also knew that when I got home.
Way too hard.
Check this out. I knew when I got home, I knew my mom was going to drive home the point. Here's the thing. I didn't need my mom to drive home the point that was a crappy grade. I knew it as soon as I saw it.
Yeah.
So when I say 9,000 people out of 58,000 voted, that's a crappy grade.
Yeah.
That's a crappy grade.
That's crappier than your grade.
Yeah. So
You were 50-50.
yes. I'm listen. And this is unique to my situation. I've been a part of units. My last unit was the DCM, Deployable Communications Module Alpha in Naples, Italy. Okay? And one of the things that, as much stuff as we did, like the one thing that we were always successful at was being successful.
That's always.
We were used to being successful.
Yeah.
Every mission that we ever went on, and hear me out, every mission that we had ever been tasked to do, we have always been successful. And the reason why we were always successful is because our leadership, Captain Delat, well, he's now Lieutenant Colonel Delat, Lieutenant Colonel Stewart, Brigadier General Rick Lynch, Admiral Mike Mullins, our leadership always put us in a position where we were going to be successful. So I'm not wired for this. I'm not used to this. I am genuinely, truly not used to this. And so when I come here and I see 9,000,
Yeah.
and then you look at the number of people okay, babe. You look at the number of people.
You calling me babe?
No, I'm on live and my wife is critiquing me right now.
You're doing Facebook Live?
I knew
Yes.
that.
Wait, aren't you supposed to like announce that you're recording us? Like you're on the air or something?
I'm recording us on live.
Okay.
Well, you're on the air too.
So
Yeah.
what's the critique?
The hands.
Ah.
Supposed to stop with the hands.
I like the hands. You get the hands going.
Yeah.
No, well, but she's seeing it real time.
Yeah.
We're looking at it, here.
Yeah.
A lot of Italians do, not to get racial, but a lot of Italians do that with their hands.
Yes.
So
Well, everything means something.
you'll get the Italian listeners.
Yeah. So if something
I do that. I can't help it. I notice that afterwards.
Yeah, if you ate something and
Yeah.
it was good, you go like this.
Yeah.
And if somebody
okay,
was
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
or something like that, it all means
What
something.
does this mean when you put two knuckles in and you pretend like you're biting it and spit like?
I've never seen
Italian.
Italians do
I
that.
think it's like called a Sigi curse
seen
or
it.
something.
Oh,
seen that.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
that's all right. I think that's more of an Italian American thing. I want you two to know you look like the freaking Three Stooges. I mean the Two Stooges. Okay.
Might as well include yourself there.
Yeah. You know what?
There are three people here.
I just walked into that.
And you're the big
right.
one. You're the big one too.
Walked
You can be
into
Curly Joe.
I totally walked into that. But I am going back to what I was saying
feel good
earlier.
holding this.
I'm used to being successful.
No,
And
can't let it. No, no,
complaining and completing a mission.
No. I'm just saying. See, while this is rolled, I'm not sure it's breaking any law for me to just breathe it unlit. I just want to know where the edge is.
What is that? What is that?
That's his medicine.
No. What?
Oh.
God's gift.
God's gift.
That's what I'm told.
Yeah.
You mean in general terms, or is that
For
a
what?
generic name?
For which-
I mean,
which dispensary?
strain name.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. That one.
Okay. Nice. Okay. But I'm not used to this. I'm not used to not being successful in setting out on a mission. And this is my mission. And here's the thing. I got battle buddies that are still in the military, that I check in with, they check in with me, and here's the thing. When they get out, I don't want them to not have access to this. So I'm really, and these are people I consider family.
Yeah.
So, and I think that the first question that they're going to ask, if anything was to go down, is, was Bridgewater conducting himself in anything in less than an honorable way?
Yeah.
That's the standard in which we were all taught. That was the standard that was expected of us.
Yeah.
And I think that standard is
You've seen it
expected
all the time
throughout.
on the floor in both houses of Congress, Senate, and the House of Representatives. People who hate each other say, "I yield 2 minutes to my honorable colleague." They call each other honorable colleagues.
But their
publicly.
conduct
they are
and
cutthroat.
actions say something totally
they are
different.
on each other's bones as quick as they can be, yet they treat the situation with decorum and honorably.
Yeah, I don't consider consider.
That's the way it's done. That's why when the governor walks by, no matter what I think about
What he
him,
did that day was a less
Right.
than honorable act.
But our asking him a question or to be on the podcast is done honorably, and Stanley Brick did amazing video work with what he got last week, passing by, available on Facebook at
Right.
the moment. And
Right.
you can see that it was done honorably, and then there was no yelling, there was no name calling, there was no demand.
No,
It wasn't. What are you afraid to come on? Which is the implication, but it was simply me saying there'd be no surprises once you come on the podcast. And he said, No thanks, bro.
Listen, man.
I got called bro by the governor.
I know. Being here in Trenton,
Pretty
New Jersey,
disgusting.
being back here in Trenton, New Jersey, what the blessing has been is it's shown me what the difference is between the blessing of some of the people that I've had the honor of working with and serving with. You know, even during my time at the Pentagon, you know, I worked with people who were, you know, very, very up there in their way of thinking, and that includes like all my supervisors and coworkers.
I got to take a break. Anybody wanna keep time with you for a second? I got to go help Lefty find a thing, and Mr. Fagan, give me that back.
So I got the reins. Oh,
Keep it on what you want.
Oh, boy.
You know, but it's a conversation if you're not by yourself.
Right. Well, I will say this. Y'all messed up and gave the wrong one all this mic time. Uninterrupted too. I'm about to go in.
There's a lot going on.
I'm about to go in.
You know,
I'm serious.
You know, and this, by the way, is what'll get that phone call. Hopefully, okay. Now, is your new family edition? It's got. I don't want to know when, but there's going to be a specific already planned time.
Yes.
Okay, so then it's not like you're going to get a surprise right now, probably.
I could, but
Okay.
the way things are going, you know, there's a plan, but you know how babies are.
You know,
They have
by
their
the
own-
way, just so you know, there are many times when I want to text any news. I think about this all the time. You guys
Why
are
don't you?
you guys are the coolest ever about having a kid. The plan is so ready, no shakes, no jitters, everything going good.
That's because you don't know my wife.
No, I hear what you have to say about her, and I know exactly where that begins and which way it rolls. You're downhill, bro.
Yeah, in the military we have a saying: you take all orders from the tower.
Yeah.
Okay, my wife is the tower, and I just
I'll be right back.
no problem. So going back to what I was saying about PTSD, the city of Trenton, and the state of New Jersey, there is now being back in New Jersey, there's a big sense of oxymoronic politics going on here. I see the state. But also I'm hopeful because, you know, with what happened last week, with the bill making it out of committee and headed to the floor of the General Assembly to be voted on, that was a win. It was a win in terms of, you know, getting us a step closer, you know. But I also see the state positioning itself in terms of post Chris Christie. And when you look at the story that came out about the missed revenue by not having expanded the medicinal marijuana program, and how we can take advantage of the, you know, from a local standpoint. And I said this to the city council last week when I spoke to them too. We need to have meaningful and constructive conversations on how we can bring the pot industry right here in the city of Trenton, because we're hurting for money. And if you can introduce an industry, there's no state on the eastern seaboard who has a fingerprint like Colorado or California. And the pot industry is dying for it. So to me, the city needs to be in lockstep with the state in terms of when things start to get rolling. Because if you can introduce a new economy, an industry, a new way of doing things, you bringing in revenue, you know, all those social programs and things like that will go away. Not go away, but we'll get them. The problems of not being able to fund them won't be such a problem. And that's where I'm, you know, like, it's like fighting a war on a number of fronts. You know, a couple of different fronts. One, we got to expand the medicinal marijuana program because veterans aren't getting the help that they need. we're up to 22 veteran suicides a day. Here's the thing. If we're up to 22 veteran suicides a day, what, and that's, you know, I'm not saying if it was all, if marijuana was part of it, you know, it would all go away. That's not what I'm saying. But if folks had access to it, I can't help but wonder what the civilian population who suffers from PTSD, what that number must be like. How many people could be helped? Because right now there's only like 6,800 people in the state's medicinal marijuana program. 6,800 out of 9 million.
Which, you know, at least more than 10 times that number can qualify. But they don't
Right here
even,
in Trenton.
They don't even know that there's even a program.
Yep.
And it's been a program now for 5 years. And
Yep.
I keep hearing, oh, well, this is new, this is new. It really isn't that new. The bill was passed in January of 2010.
Yeah.
And yet we're still hearing, oh, well, this is all new still. You know, I mean, especially from the Trenton Police, they still don't even know that there's a
Kuma
program.
laws. Yeah. They don't. Yeah, I know.
mean, I experienced it firsthand about 2 weeks ago when I was here, when we went to the police station to ask them if it was safe to use our medical marijuana here in the city of Trenton. And she said that, quote unquote, marijuana is illegal in New Jersey, and that there is no medical marijuana in New Jersey. It is illegal.
Now, here's
and
the thing.
I just gasped.
As a city resident, as a Trenton city resident, that's embarrassing.
It's sad.
Yes, it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
That's the
Because it
bottom
reflects
line.
upon all of you in a way. You
Yes,
know, because people
exactly.
see that and they're like, "Are you
Exactly.
kidding me?" I mean,
Yeah,
that's what went through
exactly.
my head. Are you kidding me?
Exactly.
You don't know the law after it's been in effect for over 5 years.
Yeah.
You don't know the law.
That was like a bad version of jaywalking.
Yeah. I mean,
You
these
remember
people
that?
are sworn.
When Jay Leno used to do jaywalking and ask the simplest questions, and people would like really not know the American Revolution was fought in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like that, that's what that was to me, and it's embarrassing. And then she did the thing where she said, "Get out of my hallway," and then cut
Your
the lights
hallway.
off and pull down. She was used to doing that. She was used to talking to people that way.
That hallway
She's
wouldn't
used
be
to talking
functioning
to
without the residents of
citizens. Yes, yes, and then, you know, again, when you look at what happened with Ed Fortune, you know, as a tax-paying citizen of the city of Trenton, I was horrified and embarrassed because it was all taking place down on camera, and again, attitude is a direct reflection of leadership. Let me tell you something. I served with I had some non-commissioned officers, some NCOs, that if there was even a whisper that I was acting like that, oh, that's my ass. They would. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm talking about with non-commissioned officers, I'm talking sergeants, sergeant first class, staff sergeants, sergeant majors. These people are the ones that's going to snatch you up. So because we knew who we worked for, because we knew who our NCO, our senior leadership was, that just knowing how they are and what their expectations of us governed how we conducted ourselves. I ain't saying nobody have never got in trouble. Yes, we make mistakes. We all make mistakes. But at the end of the day, we already knew what it was because they set the standard. And then you look at the officers who were even, you know, they set the mission statement. And then the NCOs are the ones who make sure that the mission is carried out, that we're properly trained, that we are proficient in our jobs, and that we conduct ourselves in a honorable manner. Listen, all soldiers follow core values: loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. If I went out in public and did not display those things and did the complete opposite, that's like me co-signing my platoon sergeant or my shop NCOIC. That's me co-signing their name to my BS. Never gonna happen. And I know, as a soldier, I know that. So I always was, you know, mindful about the way I do things. And what that did is that fostered that camaraderie amongst the unit as a whole, where we became family. because we're out we're out in the middle of the desert, or we're in another country, and all we got is each other. So those are things that transcend race, religion, gender. You know what I'm saying? Hey man, look, I got people waiting on me to get home. You got people waiting on you to get home. So we're gonna have each other's back. Mm-hmm. And whatever our moral, or whatever our problems with one another is, whether it be, I don't like black people, I don't like white people, I don't like whatever that is, that goes away. That goes completely away. And because you know what? That's my brother right now. Mm-hmm. That's my sister, and we gonna make sure we get home. It don't stop when you get out, especially when you're used to thinking this way about people. You know what I'm saying? I have mentors. These are my NCOs, my senior leadership in my unit. Now they're not my senior leadership, but they are my mentors. They're my measuring sticks. You know what I'm saying? I check myself against them, and they are quick to let me know, Bridge, you ain't acting right. Bridge, you need to fix this. Bridge, you need to do such and such. That's what they do. They do it, and to this day, if any of my old NCOs or my old commanders found out I was conducting myself in a less than honorable way, it's a wrap, and they'll let me know that from the door. So I have to, but I do feel as though I have the backing of my now mentors, who I still keep in contact with on a regular. Sometimes I have dreams where I can hear them yelling my name, Bridgewater! But that's the way it is. And so being back here in Trenton, mm-hmm. and seeing how those who are in a command position, who have command responsibilities, and your subordinates are conducting themselves opposite of your mission statement, the one that you put out. That's the mayor and the police director. Y'all put that mission statement out, but your subordinates are conducting themselves less than. And guess what that does? That's costing me money. Mm-hmm. Ed Fortune is going to sue the hell out of the city of Trenton, and he's going to win. And when he does, you know what I'm saying, guess what's going to happen? My taxes are about to go up.
Mm-hmm. Thanks to the city of Trenton.
Yes. Thanks to the citizens of the city of Trenton for not voting, not registering and voting, because if you have 50,000 people.
58, right?
There's 58,000.
Yeah.
58,000 who are voter eligible, who are of voter age. Out of that 58,000, only 9,000 actually voted. And I did the research. I looked at the historical data and decision making and lack thereof. And that's where we are. So no wonder you can when you have only 9,000 people voting, you can easily flood this city with oxycodone, Percocet. It's easy for the police department, then you got the police department kicking in doors, looking for people, snatching people out of cars and stuff like that. That's PTSD. All of that equals PTSD. You don't have to go to war to get PTSD. It's called post-traumatic stress disorder, meaning something bad happened to you that left an impression.
It actually permanently changes your brain function.
Yes.
Which causes you to constantly have stress.
Yes.
And I experience it myself too, and I don't have it from combat myself.
What was the biggest rate of suicides after Oklahoma City bombing?
Veterans with PTSD.
No. EMS workers.
Really?
They had a large influx of suicides because them people were there at that building helping those people out, and they couldn't let that go. That was PTSD. Mm-hmm. That's where that came from. And then you look at when you look at Trenton, mm-hmm. And what's even funnier is, I lived out of Trenton. I've been away from Trenton for like 21 years. So, and I lived in Atlanta, and I lived in overseas. But when I was in the country, and living in Atlanta, for instance, there is a large group of people from Trenton who get together a few times during the summer, and they had these huge cookouts so people could get together. Now, here's the thing. You know why they look good? Why those former Trentonians who live in Atlanta, you know why they look good? They're not suffering from PTSD.
No.
They're very well aware of what's going on here in this city. Like a lot of other people, they're very disappointed, concerned, and sad, but they're not suffering like the folks here are. And they're grateful for that. And I don't blame them for being that way. But this is what we're dealing with. And we have a very large pill popping problem here in the city. And the government has contributed to it by not allowing PTSD to be part of the state's medicinal marijuana program. And it's stopping an entire industry from coming to the local government, which would effectively, drive in revenue to help build the city up. It's in its infancy stage, so we need to be smart, and that's what I was bringing to the city council last week by saying we need to be lockstep, if not ahead of the state, in getting and bringing this industry here to this city and creating this new revenue stream.
Yeah, the view, the way you described it is the way people would, and if I were like in the health department or on the advisory board, and the consensus of people was that they're doing a bad job because post-traumatic stress isn't there, it's like the legislators that left that out of the bill.
Right.
And left the opening. It's kind of like on them, but I like the view being that way, the perception. I would not be correcting it outside of our quiet little group here, because I want that to be the perception they have to fight. The way for them to fight that perception is to give post-traumatic stress a serious consideration. Now, you were at their first meeting. You spoke to them. And then we talked with them briefly afterwards. Was I the only one that was fairly impressed and had hope that it might get a fair shake?
No.
You feel like it's possible, because they got a psychiatrist on there, and this is the person that they're going to look to, because this is dealing with, it's not exactly, I don't know if that's exactly where it belongs, the discussion, but it more than a general practitioner.
Look at let's take it a step further. Look at the people who are on this the review board.
I got to get to know them better.
Most of them are Rutgers affiliated.
Yeah.
In some way, shape, or form. Most of them were teachers at Rutgers, or administrators.
Yeah.
And
why do you think that is?
I think because Rutgers is one of the few institutions within the state who actually is researching, doing real research and production of medicinal marijuana.
Originally, when the bill was to be implemented by the governor, he wanted
colleges to grow it.
He wanted Rutgers itself to be doing the research, getting money from the program to do, and it was all about Rutgers then.
Yes.
And, it was
that was by design.
Yeah. Now the president of Rutgers at the time, McCormick, I forget his first name. It was funny because the governor said that the chancellor or president, whatever he's called, McCormick approached me, blah blah blah. And Mr. McCormick said, it's not true. The governor's office approached me. So right from the beginning, there was some sort of something going on.
Oh, yeah. That's why I said you could tell the state's position itself for post-Chris Christie.
Now, the administration's approval, apparently, of all things Rutgers, I think bodes well if these people from Rutgers make a favorable recommendation about post-traumatic stress. It would be easier rather than harder for him to follow their advice, because it's Rutgers people, the ones who would know. So I'm really, really full of hope that it might get a fair hearing. Now, it's also a 60-day comment period that started then. So what we need to do is perhaps occasionally send something off to one of them or find out how it is to present to them.
I sent an email last week to Senator Shirley Turner, my local, and Bonnie Watson Coleman. I'm supposed to be meeting with Assemblywoman Cleopatra Tucker.
These are all friendlies too, so this is good.
Yeah.
You become their political cover because they want to help.
Yeah, she asked me to testify.
Well, that's
to the VA. She sits on the VA committee.
This is the short version. Is she gets to say, "Did you hear what he just said?" And then go on.
You know what?
Or
that's the feeling that I got.
She gets to say, "Man, Leo Bridgewater, who I had a meeting with." And then she'll quote something you said and then ask an opponent, how would you react to that? In other words, she just points, your cover. That's it. And that's the way it works best for them. That's why you always hear, I had a constituent came to me with a concern. Probably
it's different
not.
when the constituent is standing right there saying something.
And there's an actual quote, but they probably even lie about that, paraphrasing, pretending a constituent. If nobody's going to say who was it or whatever.
There's no paraphrasing the real person.
Right.
And
that's why they want you there. That's why that's why I was so glad to walk with you and Philippe down there to make sure. Here's where you sign up.
Yep.
I'm your escort. I'll get you all the way there. No, you can't use the bathroom now.
Yep.
You'll have to wait.
You should have seen Joe. Joe handed me the paperwork, the pen. He was like, sign it right here. Fill it right here. Do this
sign
right
here. The bill number is A457. Will be testifying. Don't cross out. A lot of people, no need to testify. Just
and then here's what's even
and then
crazy.
I had to come back and wrap up a podcast.
Right.
So I didn't get to watch.
When we did the medicinal marijuana program review board meeting, when we went and spoke there, here's what was interesting. All of them after we finished talking, they all got up and at some point or another walked over to me and said, "Thank you for your service."
Yeah.
In spite of what, the governor didn't do.
Yeah.
He just walked past you, not even acknowledged you, nothing.
And
past you.
Me and every other veteran can legally say, we can legally say we did something for you that you didn't even do for your family.
Yeah.
Because again, the men and women in the United States military make up less than 1% of the U.S. population, but they do 100% of the fighting. We make up less than 1% of the population, but we do 100% of the fighting. That's why I can stand here and be confident and speak in an authoritative manner as far as, hey, first 5 words that come out of your mouth when you address a veteran. Thank you for your service.
I was counting on my fingers.
Yeah. I was taught that before I went into the Army.
Now,
I was always taught that.
This is why, being pragmatic about it, this is why you and other veterans who will speak up or have their stories heard, you're an asset. You're an extreme asset towards our goals of making this law work.
We're aligned.
Yeah.
We're aligned.
And it couldn't be more clear to me over the years, there are certain people who are extreme assets. Cheryl was, my late wife. Because she
today's
showed
the anniversary, right?
Today, she died 13 years ago.
Yeah. I was looking through your pictures, man. Oh, man.
I just threw up ones I came across, but they tell a pretty good story the more you look. And I didn't credit some of the people that she was with, like Lester Grinspoon. He's an icon. Movement. The head of the DEA, Asa Hutchinson. Republican State Senator Louis Pisano sitting in his office while he made a phone call because it ended a 2-year struggle that he passed a bill in 1981 The 1981 Controlled Dangerous Substances Therapeutic Research Act, which would allow the health department to ask the federal health department for marijuana to be distributed to New Jersey patients in an effort to find its medical efficacy, even anecdotally speaking. So, the health department.
No idea.
Yeah, did you like just to hear him go through all that? And mind you, this is we're talking about somebody that. And I told my wife this because when we watched the TV interview that you and I did, and they showed you and you started to cry.
Yeah.
And I said to my wife, I said, babe,
I'm proud of it.
And you should be, as you should be. And I told my wife, I said, you know what, babe? That man was in love with his wife. And when you look at the pictures, and I was going through the pictures, as a husband, I could see how you going through the things that you went through, because the most powerful part was when you said, I said to my wife, we can do this quietly or we could be loud. Mm-hmm. It's up to you, but I'm going to take care of you. To me, when we take our vows, we say, in sickness and in health.
Yeah.
And when I look through your pictures and I love it when I see a good dude demonstrating fulfilling those vows. That was sickness and in health. And you never stopped loving, the way you look at her.
Yeah.
That was a man in love with his wife.
You know what? I didn't look at those pictures specifically, but I'd be willing to wager, if not all of them, just about all of them, I would have a hand on a shoulder, on a hand, not just the wheelchair. There was always when I turned away, there was a physical connection, and I never decided to do that. It wasn't, reaching around. It was just, it just felt natural. And
so for something happened to you.
Yeah. Oh.
Something happened to you in terms of what got you going with this. Whereas for me, what brought me into the fold was, first of all, it's personal. And something happened to somebody that I love.
That's where activism comes from.
Yes.
When it becomes personal.
Yes.
And when somebody asked me once, so then, are you saying, would you wish sickness upon somebody? I didn't hesitate to say, for the greater good. If there is somebody, it's what's brought people over. Some of the best turncoats, the people who were against medical marijuana, and then became its greatest spokespeople, was because it happened to them. Now, I wouldn't I know you can't wish something on somebody, but part of me does. I mean, it just does. I'm not going to hide
it.
Look,
man,
I can't help it.
Listen, man, never be apologetic for being human.
Not good people. It's sort of like, and that's why nobody ever. Now, you don't want that person, an innocent daughter, to get sick or anything. But let's just use Lynn Nofziger as somebody I met. He was a Republican who was Governor Ronald Reagan's chief of staff when he was governor. Uh-huh. He became a senior policy advisor during his presidency, and he helped write the laws against marijuana that would make it unable to be studied. His daughter got sick. His wife said, if you don't get marijuana for her, leukemia, I believe, I will. So he did, and it was good for his daughter. And he turned the opposite way and beat the drum forevermore for medical usage of it and told people how wrong he was. Now, I have a picture of him shaking hands with me over Cheryl.
And Cheryl looking at him.
Yeah. He at one point, while we were shaking hands, he didn't stop. He just looked at me. I mean, and it went on for
that compassion
for 15 seconds, and as long as I'm talking about it, and he just almost didn't stop. It was like I know that you know that I know that you know what it's like. In other words, it was a connection.
Yep.
And he always wore a Mickey Mouse somewhere. He had a Mickey Mouse tie on. And who does that?
But see, that's why I said for me, there's a couple of fronts here. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm trying to save my city. Like, where this city is brand spanking new to me in terms of how, like I told somebody the other day, we can't say it's bad in Trenton. We passed bad a couple of train stops ago.
Yeah, that ship sailed.
And, and again, I keep going back to the same number, 9,000. My wife says you got to stop. You got to calm down with that because, You know, and I'm like, this is, but when you look at over 20
Oh, you know
years,
that she's
man,
probably right from what you were telling me.
yeah, she's saying, you know, like, we got to teach now. It's we have to teach, we have to educate, and she's right. My wife is, don't tell her I told you, but she's always right. You know, most of the time.
I'm not surprised.
You know? Yeah, but the thing is that I understand from what point that she's coming from, because when I quote that to other people, they have no clue. No clue that it was, and then you go, okay, now I know exactly why it's bad. Because when you have only 9,000 people voting, it's everybody's fault.
Well, yeah, because you're not willing to get up and go and make the change, and because so many people say, well, you know what, my vote doesn't count. Well, that's because you're refusing to vote.
Yes.
If it just takes one person to tell this other person,
It's a self-fulfilling
vote.
prophecy. If
Yes,
you don't vote, your vote certainly doesn't count when you don't
So what
vote.
I got to do is the way I'm trying to save my city is I'm trying to bring an industry to this city, because we need it.
What do you say to somebody that says, I've never seen an election decided by one vote? I mean, it's true, but it's when people say your vote matters, my vote matters. It counts. Whether or not it decides the outcome of election is not the point. The point is what you're talking about. When they see voters showing up, more than not, over 50% of the registered voters, when that happens, that gets change going. Not at the election booth, not that day, but going out and voting and making that number as high as possible. Fact is, if 50, okay, Trenton, how many registered voters? 50-some thousand? 55,000?
No, registered?
Registered.
58,000 who are of voter age.
Oh, okay.
Now, actually registered, 38,000.
Well, out of those 38,000 that are registered even, if 30,000 ever went out and voted, and then 5 people show up at a town council meeting, those 5 people get taken more seriously because of the amount of votes that they can sway.
Yep. First of all, let me give you a quick graphic, okay? A quick way of looking at things. Trenton, there are 84,000 total people. That's the population of this city, right? Did you know that the capital city of New Jersey is only 7 square miles?
The Trenton, say one more time, I'm sorry. The Trenton city capital?
No, the capital city of New Jersey, Trenton.
Trenton is only 7 square miles.
You have 84,000 people packed into 7
That's
square
extremely
miles.
tight space.
So here's what that also gives you. That gives you less than 6 degrees of separation.
No.
So when I'm sitting inside city council chambers last week, right, and I'm listening to these activists, these pastors, and they're doing all this hooping and hollering and basically having church, the whole time I'm saying to myself, more than likely 3/4 of your congregation didn't even vote. The person to your left and the person to your right didn't vote. Okay? That's that's where we are. More than likely, you guys didn't vote. Hey son, how you doing? So again, you know, all the hooping and hollering, because that's why I said when I looked at those pictures and I see all those, there was one little boy. This lady brought her son with him. He couldn't have been no more than maybe 6 or 7. And I was sitting there, and she told this guy, because she was talking to somebody, she told this guy, take him to see the picture of his dad. And so the guy took him over to take a picture, to show him the picture of his dad, who was amongst all the people who had been murdered in the city. Mm-hmm. And that messed with me, because here I am, I'm about to go home and pick up my son, who's 9. My oldest is 9, and I get to hug him, and I have to sit here and watch this little boy look at his dead father and listen to all these people hoop and hollering. But here's the thing. His father has died in vain. Mm-hmm. It wasn't, and it's, and I say that with a bit of anger because that part didn't register with these people, with these leaders. What they did do is they stood there and they shouted and screamed at the city council, and none of y'all are really voting. None of your people are voting. I asked my wife this one day. I said, babe, whose job is it to make sure people go out and vote? And she said, I don't know. And I said, well, that's part of the problem right there, because the answer is when only 9,000 out of 58 are voting, it's everybody's job to make sure people go out and vote. And you have the opioid problem. So we live in a community where they're killing babies and old people, and you guys don't want to vote. We live in a community where they're poisoning children in schools with the lead in the water. You know what I'm saying? And they're not even, the folks are not galvanized with either of these events to reconnect into the political process. Jesus, that smells good. Yeah, it does.
Oh, Steven's here. It must be Steven. Okay.
But
Wow.
that bothers me. That eats at me.
Come on now, cross the street. Do that for me.
We're bumping our heads against a brick
Come on,
wall.
Larry, be a leader, not a follower. Go across the street.
Hey.
I got the pistol, so I get the pesos. Yeah, that seems fair.
Jim, over by the truck we were talking about.
I got to be like a sergeant
It's
at
okay.
arms or
It's
something,
fine. It's fine.
Right now?
No, I'm just saying that it's like there's
drill
areas
sergeant?
Yeah.
for medication
Yeah.
and areas not. And when you're on the just got to cross the street,
Sometimes, let me tell you something. Sometimes those
Now they're good. Now
those
they're-
drill sergeants
they're
make
legal.
you think that they was on some medication with some of the stuff they make you do
Yeah.
and some of the things that they say.
Oh,
You know,
man.
I actually one of the best mentors that I had. This guy's unapologetic about the way he is. He has his opinion, and it's his opinion, and he don't care. And I have nothing but respect for him, and I love him for it.
Jimmy Crack Corn, I don't care.
His name's Jay Johnson, and this guy.
Damn, I'm not going to do
Johnson, This guy,
Oh,
we
you
thought
doesn't
he
have
had
to call
multiple
me Johnson.
personalities.
I'm voting for Johnson.
it. Really?
Yeah.
Multiple
Yeah.
personalities.
Yeah,
You're making it impossible
had
for me
us-
not to do the Raymond
and-
J. Johnson guy.
No, but here's the thing. You had to know which. What was funny was you had to know which personality you were talking to that day.
Do you let me ask you something.
man.
No, let me ask you.
But
Do
one
you,
of
let,
the
let me
greatest
just do. I forget his
non-commissioned
name. Let
officers
me
I've
just
ever
do
met.
his routine quick, and you tell me if you've heard it. And it's almost like this is the same guy you're talking about. He goes, call him Mr. Johnson. He goes, oh, you doesn't have to call me Johnson. You can call me Ray. You can call me Jay. You can call me Johnny. You can call me Sonny. You can call me RJ. You can call me RJJ Jr., but you doesn't have to call me Johnson. Okay, Mr. Johnson. Oh, you don't, and he'd do it again. Now you're saying this is Jay Johnson with multiple personalities.
Uh-huh.
Do you see the connection to the character that this guy did?
You get it? You get it? You get it?
Does one of your personalities
How
get
about
it?
now?
All right.
How about now?
I get it, but here's
How about
the problem.
now?
Jay
Here's
Johnson.
the problem. All right.
can call me
You
Jay.
guys would get along with him, but I will say this. This dude.
He'll rip your head off
He
with one
was-
hand.
Yeah.
Pretty
for
much.
sure.
Is
for
he
sure,
fast?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, real
I-
quick.
well, then
'Cause this dude is-
we're
here's the
done.
thing. He's infantry too.
I don't have
So
to
they
outrun
have
him.
a real-
I don't have to outrun him. I just have to outrun you.
Yeah, he has them infantry guys, and I'm not. Them 11 Bravos have a totally different way of thinking
Yeah.
in terms of how they process things,
Yeah.
and what they see versus what we see. Now, here's the thing: if you don't
It's
do
like
what you're
police. It's like the police.
yes, but he was always right, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Again, a mentor of mine. But if you, I remember one time he super glued.
Here we go.
He super glued, or either he did it or he threatened to super glue the
Scrotum?
no, no the tires of the command because
That's brilliant.
they were parking in spaces that they weren't supposed to be parking.
Oh,
in.
that's pretty good.
I like this guy.
And they
Yeah.
but they jumped in our asses about it.
Yeah. Well,
And so,
Well, of course.
Willingness
and so
to
Jay
accept
is
the
like, if you want,
consequences.
look,
Runs downhill.
I remember Jason. I remember Sergeant Johnson saying, if you going to jump on us, and we're not parking here, then you're not going to park here either. Super gluing. He was like, I'm gonna super glue these tires. But I also was, I don't know I forget what personality that was talking at that time. You know what I'm saying?
Raymond J.
Now, here's the
Johnson.
thing. Remember when I told you there's some guys that I don't have a problem taking into the hood, and I would tell the brothers in the hood, that's not the one you want?
Yeah.
Okay, Jay Johnson, one of them. He wanted them. Yeah, okay. he wanted them. I tell everybody,
Well, you know,
that
this
ain't
is,
the one you
now,
want.
if he was your mentor and he did cool stuff like that, then you learn from somebody who finds not just the third option, the fourth, fifth, sixth. This is not, you're not describing an either-or guy. You're not describing a guy that, I bet he feels the same way that I do when I hear somebody go, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? The deck's stacked against you. It's sort of like, there's always something to do.
No,
you super glued her tires. That's what I'm going to do.
But you know what I learned about him? This is what I learned about being, this is what makes him such a great
cool.
NCO, is Jay knew how to, he knew what everybody was really good at and how to exploit that.
That's valuable.
He was yes,
Yeah.
and had no problems with
That's a chief
deferring
that's
to
a chief of staff material you're talking about there.
and that's what we learned. But here's the thing: our command structure fostered that way of leadership. And that came from the top down. Everybody was a direct reflection of leadership. You know, we would cut up and everything like that, but when it came down to doing our jobs and being in position, that's what I learned. Playtime is over. We got work to do.
Yeah.
And if you bust your ass, then you can mess around later on. But we did that, and that's why I keep telling people, I'm not used to this. I'm not used to not being successful in a mission.
Used to winning.
Yes.
So am I.
And here's the thing: the guys that I serve with, who are still in, they're older now. They're parents now. They're where Jay was at the time. Where we are now is where he was with us. And guess what? These dudes and these women, they doing it big time. Big time. They like, I see it. I see every single person that I served with, you know, particularly in my last unit, I see them all doing big things right now. I couldn't be proud of them, and the thing is that, and in order for them to be proud of me, I gotta be going as hard on the outside as they are on the inside. I'm not in the uniform anymore, so I have to. This is what going hard looks like for me, because I know what they're doing. They're on. I got a friend who just left Monday on a deployment. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I got a Christy McIntosh, who is like my sister. You know what I'm saying? She's been over in Europe with her 2 sons, multiple tours. Chief Petty Officer Rachel Boss just left Monday. You see what I'm saying? These are the point, and they do it like that, like it's nothing. That's what we used to, and they are. Remember those coins I bought, and I showed you my awards and everything like that? Mm-hmm. That ain't nothing compared to some of the guys and women that I serve with. I ain't even. That's nothing.
You'd be buying drinks at a bar.
Yes.
You'd be the one paying.
Yes. I have to do like this. I know some guys. I'm telling and listen, Air Force guys. I got Sergeant Parks, Thomas Parks, Blaine Woodard. You know, Chief Petty Officer Cody Peterson. You know what I'm saying?
That's
this
a
is
cool
a guy
name.
that
You should be like a quarterback.
This dude. Now let me tell you something else about this guy. All right, Cody Peterson.
All right, quarterback.
This guy, I remember he was at I was in NTMI headquarters in Baghdad, and he was stationed at Al Rustamiyah, which is the Iraqi war college, like their version of West Point. And most of the time we would fly in between. Other times we would convoy. And I remember he convoyed into Baghdad, and I had to go pick him up. So I go pick him up, and he was like, yo man, don't tell nobody.
Now you're going to tell everybody.
But I was riding top cover the whole way, back and forth. I'm just like, dude, are you
What's that-
crazy?
what does that mean?
The guy that's sitting on in the Humvees.
That's what I guess.
That's got the gun at the top and
Yeah.
everything like that. And this is a Navy dude. You know what I'm saying? And but he. Remember that I told you sometimes you got to be a little. Okay, Cody one of them. But let me tell you something. Anything go down, and I don't care where in the world he is. If something happened, I'm there. If something were to happen to me, I would be there. Cody was with me the day I found out I was having my first son. That it was a boy. When the word came down to me, he was there with me. You see what I'm saying? I share these experiences with these. When I tell you that these people are family to me, these people, I'm fighting this fight for them.
How do they feel about that? The fight that you're fighting, particularly here at the State House, for them, it sounds like even if you're talking about somebody who does not have post-traumatic stress, it's going to be just as important to them, if not more, because of the brothers and sisters that they want to watch out for, because they're part of a team that has each other's back during service and beyond. So you're doing this, and with a passion. I got to ask, are they going to come support you ever?
Attitude, direct reflection of leadership.
I would hope they'd come on down here to sit on a lawn chair and watch you in action.
These guys are.
That's my invitation, by the way, Cody.
And these men and women are still active duty, except for Jay. He just retired, but he's out in Kansas. I think the main thing is what governs me is the fact that I know that they're looking to make sure that I am conducting myself according to the ways that we were taught.
We got rules of engagement.
Yes. Yes,
we do.
Yes,
they're guidelines more than rules, because we are civilians, and it's like herding cats with some of the support that we have. But that we don't want to push somebody away or give them an excuse to not show up when they're either a fence sitter or an opponent. It's easy preaching to the crowd. What we need to do, and Lefty, how do we do this to get opponents on the show, knowing that we will give them equal time and civility to have a discussion? And
that's a big deal.
Now
too,
let me point out why I think they should come on. Is if we are rude, abusive, take too much time, cut them off, anything like that, it doesn't matter what their argument was. They won.
Yep.
They won. If you
we just became
disobey
whatever it is they've been saying we are.
And it gets people. If it was a foreign language, you would know who won by the demeanor going on. You don't have to be like that. We're right. They're wrong.
Right.
And maybe there's even the littlest of common ground, where it would help us to understand what the opposition is about. So we have to get people like that on here. They don't have to be legislators. How do we do it? I know it's to have the courage or conviction to come sit down. I don't know.
Well, first of all, I don't know as far as like the guys the men and women that I've served with. Okay, here's the number one thing: ain't no punks. There's no punk in any of them. And if they were in my position and came home like I did came to their hometowns and found the things that they found out going on in their hometowns like this, you would see this the same way. They would go just as hard. That's just what we were taught. We all were taught this. How they would go about it is a different story. Now, here's the thing. Remember that movie with Patrick Swayze? He was the hillbilly.
I'm not sure I do.
Liam Neeson was his older brother.
Yeah, I do. I remember.
And at the end, he got into some trouble, and his hillbilly family came down from the hills.
Yep, I remember
to Chicago.
Yeah, Hillbilly Justice.
What was that movie called? I forget the name.
We'll call it Hillbilly Justice.
Yeah,
or something
right.
for
Yeah.
now. That's
Well,
pretty much what it was.
Well, what happened is
I liked it.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the thing. I'm not calling them hillbillies or anything like that, but it's nothing like when you know you got backup.
Yeah.
Okay, that's how they all are.
Yeah,
Well, I know I got backup
If you
if I
were a
needed it.
Hatfield or a McCoy, you always had somebody on your side who did have your back. Unfortunately, at Foster's, somebody else having to have somebody else's back, and then
Right.
if you're good at what you do, it goes on like them
Right,
forever. You know,
right,
I mean,
right.
but it is nice. That's why it's my hope that the longer we keep up the podcast, that patients who can't make it out, and it does happen more and more, people realize that we have their backs.
Speaking of that, today is actually a very special day, and we're
Yes, it
talking
is.
about this over by the truck. Today is Cheryl's anniversary.
Yeah.
Cheryl Miller, your late wife, who actually inspired me to begin my activism many years ago.
Yeah.
This
Is that
woman-
how it happened?
Yeah. Oh, he knew Cheryl. Yeah, we go
Yeah.
back.
She was something else.
Yep.
He pushed her around in a bed.
I know.
In a bed, Leo.
I saw the pictures when they was. I told my wife. I said, "Babe, they tried to lock him and his wife up in the bed. They was loading them up in the in the paddy wagon and everything.
Yeah.
See, that's the type of stuff that tells you how
Well,
deep
we
it go for
we
somebody.
made them do that. You know.
Yeah, you pushed him.
Yeah.
That's
you
what you
know,
have to do.
That was the decision.
Can you
And-
talk about what you were talking with me about on her last day? Because
Sure,
today was her last day.
I'm an open book. You know, I mean, basically, I'm an open book because she was an open book. I learned from the best, and that's why I didn't mind doing an interview. I took off my blinders. We were talking about that. He goes, "Oh, and you cried." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, and I'm proud of it." What I did is I have blinders on. Maybe that describes post-traumatic stress. I don't know, but I keep them on all the time. But when I need to, I'll take them off, and I have peripheral vision. And it literally feels like a physical thing at times, and that's how I get through it. So
But that's
whatever.
how my unit. That's why when I said the unit, I'm not used to. Because we're successful.
Yeah.
We've always been successful in everything that we've done. Is because our command structure taught us how to put those blinders on to complete the mission.
I'm taking them off right now.
And mind you, we
Open book.
we were doing things where we were having 18, 19-hour days, guys breaking their backs. I've seen dudes climb the tops of buildings just to get an antenna.
And they
hooked
still
up.
weren't as tough as Cheryl Miller.
And you know what?
They still could not be as tough as Cheryl Miller.
Tell you what, when you say 18, 19-hour days, I'm thinking, I remember wishing for 18 and 19-hour days. That would mean that there would be sleep all through the night, you know. I would sleep because we had a very small room, and I slept on the floor next to her hospital bed in the room. And it was good because I had to be in tune. I had to hear changes in breathing. I never really slept. And one time, she had a sippy cup of water thing, so she leaning on her shoulder, and she had a spasm. And the only time I ever really hurt myself bad sleeping is I'm there, and it fell on my chest, and before I woke up, I swung as hard as I could across the top of me and hit the metal frame of the bed,
I remember you told me.
which is what woke me up. I didn't quite know what was going on, but I whiffed. But anyway, what I'm saying is, if you want to talk about that and ask me anything you want.
Real quick, I got to interject
going
something
on.
real quick.
Go.
Uncle Mike is back.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he
Mike.
went on vacation.
We got to meet Uncle Mike.
Yeah, he went to Florida, but we have some things that we have to overcome. But he's still open to the idea of, doing a podcast.
Hey, come watch one. He doesn't have to do anything. If he comes to watch a podcast and decides, I think I'd like to take part, y'all let us know. It's not going to be like, will you or you should. But he should come watch a podcast. That's all. Just sit back. Don Karpowicz, he came and watched and refused to talk because it was his own pace, and it took him a while to start talking. So everybody's got their own pace.
I'm working on him,
Yeah.
but it's at this point it's just a matter of scheduling because him and my aunt, they went down south to visit kids and grandkids and then made their way back. They're back now, but it takes them a little while to get over the fatigue of a long trip. But he is definitely on board with doing one. Even if and I told myself, Mike, I said Jim said even if we have to do a special one,
Yeah.
He said, okay, I said, so we just got to, but it's so, you want to talk about PTSD and you want to talk about veterans, this is the man you want to talk to. He's the guy that you want to have, again, a 5'4" survivor, Special Forces, Green Beret, Vietnam, has done some pretty heavy stuff.
Sorry about that. I forgot.
Okay. He's done some pretty heavy stuff. And, we'll blow your mind. There's been plenty of times where my Uncle Mike has told me stories and that left me with my mouth wide open, like, so it is what it is, man. And I'm sorry to interrupt the original plan.
It's not interrupted. These things have their own pace, and this is a good pace today. Is that a picture now that is visible on the podcast? Is that what viewers are seeing?
No, unfortunately, we don't have the option of showing my computer on the podcast.
Oh, okay.
I could take the camera down, but it would,
No.
We kind of need a producer to help with that kind of stuff because I can say, hey, get the camera down here. They can get the camera, get the shot, boom.
Well,
what do we?
Well,
I want to talk about what you were talking about.
Yeah.
With Cheryl's last day. You were there with her.
13 years ago today, yeah.
Yeah, you were with her. Where was this?
It was in what was then Brick Memorial Hospital in Brick, New Jersey, Brick Township. Yeah. Well, what had happened, the lead up to that would be, this day would have been Saturday morning, I believe it was. I might be one day off in the calendar, but it was. She had a weekend before that, a rough weekend breathing. It was becoming a little labored, so we pulled the trigger pretty quick and took a trip to the hospital, which is an ambulance ride because then you get your own little room when you get there quick. So we went, and that would have been Monday.
Yep.
And then Tuesday,
Tom.
they were doing tests and said she's lost her ability to swallow correctly, but we're pretty sure therapy we can control that. We teach her how to swallow better. She was aspirating liquid into her chest, and I'd noticed she'd been swallowing twice, sometimes like a pill, just for water. So anyway, on Wednesday, she was sleeping, and came to the door and said, "Can we talk out in the hallway?" That's never good in a hospital. You know that they do not bring you into a hallway to give
Unless
you
they're
good
about
news.
to deliver some bad news.
Yeah, well, they did it like ripping off a Band-Aid. Got me in the hallway, and they said it's not going to work with her swallowing. She's lost her ability to swallow completely, and without a feeding tube, she's going to die.
Uh-huh.
And have a clarity between Cheryl and me what she did and didn't want at a time like this. And she didn't want that. For some reason, nothing she did scared her, you know that. But the feeding tube scared her.
Oh,
and
really?
And it wasn't up to me to know why. She made it clear. So at this point, I told them, no, there's going to be no feeding tube. We don't have a do not resuscitate order. My bad, but this is how it's going to go. You're not going to put a feeding tube in her. And it was like, we can do it hard or we can do it easy and make national news, but this is what. So they had a conference with administration, came back and said, we'll respect that. You have a DNR now. And I signed some papers on her behalf. They had,
Wow.
It was all good. Then they gave me the news that surprised me. I said, so what happens now? I said, well, basically, you can control her pain as she wastes away. And I'm like, what? I says, well, basically, it's going to take 10 days to 2 weeks, and she's going to waste away. She can't swallow anything. And I thought, this is the plan? Are you freaking kidding me? Oh, this is not going to do, but that's what it was. They said it's going to get painful, and you can swab morphine under her tongue. And then they said, without me asking, in any amount you deem is necessary. So they were giving me an approval to end her life with morphine if it got too painful, that if it was going to be too bad of a wasting away, that I could do that for her. And that really bothered me, because it should be a plan. I mean, it should be an option. So what happened was there's that picture in the montage of pictures with her with a nebulizer over her, and I'm just kind of sitting there looking a little concerned. That was at that moment, and I was waiting for her to wake up so I could tell her she was going to die. So,
Jesus.
yeah, I took care of that, and I didn't know how to say it. So what I said is, we got some news, and I said that you're going to be with Ricky, Dina, and Floyd really soon, and that was her son, who had died of.
She's buried next to him.
Yeah.
Right. I
yeah.
saw.
Right. Yeah. That was Ricky.
headstone.
You're right. That was Ricky. Her daughter died in a car accident, and Floyd was her dog, which he was not just a dog; he was our best friend for 15 years. She actually sighed like it's over, you know. And
Relief.
Then, relief. And then her expression changed, and she looked up at me and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, honey." So like, yeah, it's weird. She was apologizing to me for dying. You know, sorry, because you're going to be the one left to grieve, and I'm going to be Ricky and Dean and Floyd. Like, she was getting the good end of the deal, so I told her, I confessed. I said, I got to tell you this. I cannot keep this up anymore. It's been a lot of activism, and I don't know if I'm going to continue on. I wanted you to know that. I wanted to tell you that. And then she was supposed to say, I understand, or so, or something like that. And she went, but you have to. Oh, man. And it was the same answer as before. She's like, are there still people that don't know? And in 2003, yeah, there was a lot of people that didn't know. The MS Society wouldn't even admit this is a good thing. So again, we shouldn't have wanted somebody to have done something for us we're not willing to do for them. And I wish somebody had told us sooner. So yeah, I told her, I made a deal. I said, I'll ask myself, what would Cheryl do if she were still here? And if my answer was she'd take part, then I take part. Unfortunately, the answer's been yes for everything.
Right.
Would she have a podcast every week if she could? Yeah. So I got, yes, I'm still here. So, but what we were talking about was the exact ending. This was on Wednesday, I found out. Saturday morning, we were scheduled to go into the care of hospice. And I was going to be back at the house, and they're going to find out what hospice is all about, and they would help this happen. And my mom would come by and sit with Cheryl at night while I got about 3 hours sleep in the day room, and then I'd come back. So I came back and relieved Mom on Saturday morning, the day of hospice. And Cheryl had been barely conscious on and off in the 48 hours before that. She'd react, but really wasn't saying much. And it suddenly struck me when I relieved my mom and I closed the door. It was about 6:30 a.m. And I got angry at God. And the reason I did is, this is Cheryl Miller, for crying out loud. It wasn't right, the potential ending, the way it looked. And, it seems like she deserved, at the time of her passing, special consideration. And I'm not a God-type person. And what happened was, I got angry, and I closed the door, and I was very loud. I yelled at God. I said, the Lord giveth, and the Lord taketh. Everybody knows that. That's what you're known for. I wasn't saying God, but, he knew who I was talking to, which he or it. And I said, now you gaveth, and everybody is so thankful. And it's time to taketh. I know it. You know it. Everybody knows it. So do not dare screw up on half of what you are known for. Taketh now, and make it beautiful. That was yelling out loud. And then it was as if something happened, and I not like I didn't hear, not like I went deaf, but it got quiet. Maybe just because the whole rest of the hospital went, oh, you know, and when I stopped yelling, it was like total quiet. Yeah, hospital, it's, but it, and I was left with not a voice, but like asking myself a question. Well, are you alone now with Cheryl? For 4 days, we'd had a roommate on the other side of the curtain. For 4 days, when she couldn't drink, the woman's going, "Oh, lemon ice! I love lemon ice!"
Are you
right,
serious?
right on the other side, and Cheryl would go, "Lemon ice," and I'd say, "You can't have any," and she'd go, "Okay," you know, no fight, just I say so,
Right.
you know.
Right.
So anyway, roommate left, another one came. She left, and nobody came in. There was no roommates then, and. I thought, yeah, it's nice to be alone at a time like this. And my own thought at a time like this, what time? Oh, time of her passing. It's now. And I knew it. I freaking knew it. Just from a thought process and the quiet and having yelled at God. And I had no reason to believe it was then. It wasn't supposed to be for a week. And I sat there, and it was time. And I got to hold on to her and, you know, just kind of soak it all up, you know.
Right.
And her breathing was rapid, like. And then after about an hour, it was like. I noticed it slowed down. And then it got to regular breathing. If I didn't already know, I'd think she was doing better. Because it was the regular breathing, and then it was less, and then it was less. And around 9:30, it was one breath every 15 seconds, 4 per minute. That's a long time. A breath, and is that the last one? And it would take 15 seconds. So, no, still, you'd be thinking, no, 10 seconds. Feels like... And then it would seem like forever and one more. So I realized, you know, I just said, listen, Cheryl, it's time to go. Why won't you let go? You got to let go. And it'd breathe. And I say, you got to let go. Come on, it's time. Like a freaking coach. And she'd take one. And then I thought, don't you worry, I'll be okay. It felt like, yeah, she was getting the good end of the deal, and she knew it. Right. So when I said, I'll be okay, and I put my hand on her head, and I said, I'll be okay, you got to go. She took one more breath, and that was it. So how beautiful is that, right? I mean, how beautiful is that? So when people say, when I say it's 13 years ago today, Cheryl passed away, and they say, I'm sorry, I feel like saying, I'm not. I'm not sorry. It was going to happen. It was inevitable. Who am I to marry somebody in a wheelchair and then not want her to go when it's time? You know, it made sense. It made sense. It was time. It was beautiful. We were together. And I was holding on to her. It was like you could just feel it be over. What better closure is that? You know how many people are missing somebody? You know how many? Everybody's missing somebody they did not have that closure with, and they know what I'm talking about to know that I am lucky that it ended that way. I got exactly what I demanded of God.
But Jim,
so basically, the praying thing's not praying. Demand it.
Yeah,
it works.
Jim, let me
I'm
tell you.
overcompensating to keep from crying.
Let me tell you what your example does for me. Okay. Remember when I told you I went to the city council and they had the posters and all that stuff, and I said, you know, the pictures of all the people who had been killed in the city of Trenton over the last couple years or what have you.
Yeah.
Okay, and I said, at this point, when you look at 9,000 votes, all those people have died in vain. Okay, based on the way people vote. Okay, you sitting right here, you putting this fight, Cheryl didn't die in vain.
Here we are.
You see what you see, Lefty. You understand what I'm saying as far as like.
That's why I'm here. I'm here because of her.
Yeah, but then
and him.
Yes,
She
but
loved
then
it, yeah,
when I look at
it was
when I look at the citizens of the city of Trenton, the voting, the lack thereof of voting, that's what Vane is.
You know who voted every year?
Cheryl.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
Who couldn't move her neck?
Yeah. Now let me tell you.
Yeah.
Let me just lighten it up real quick here, because it's a pertinent story. You know, this little
Hold on,
memorialization.
guys. I love you. I'll see you later, and we'll be talking. Okay.
Okay.
Go register to vote.
Yeah, man.
Are you talking to us or your
The
live stream?
my live stream.
Leo's doing a live stream.
Yeah.
That goes for you too on the podcast.
So we would go vote. I would vote, and you saw the reclining wheelchair. We'd be standing in line sometimes, and they'd let us go right to the front, and I'm like, that's cool. So there's a curtain, there's a machine, and Cheryl's laying back. So I'd back her in, and the curtain would come across her stomach, and her feet would be outside, propped up by pillows. And I'd slide it shut, and I'd already have been in, voted, and then I'd come back and get her, and it was her turn to vote. And we'd go in, and it would be quiet, and I'd already know. We'd go through it, and I'd have written down. It was not always the same as me. It didn't matter. Always with the big ones. I let her know who were against her, and she voted accordingly. But it would get quiet, and then I would go, "You'll vote for who I say you vote for," and then I'd be quiet for a little while longer, and I'd come walking on out, and Cheryl would be trying not to laugh out loud, and as soon as we got out, the ladies that were there, they were usually in their 60s or 70s, and they would be the ones that would get you registered in to vote. And they'd be just waiting. They would laugh so hard because.
Just look for the blue hair.
Yeah.
You have news for us, Leo?
No.
When you do that, it's like, is it going on?
Is it happening?
No,
What's
not
going
yet.
on?
No, not yet. But I gotta get back. I'm on a limited.
You're on the
time.
clock.
Yeah, I'm on the
I
clock.
can't
Glad
believe
you're
you
here.
were able to be here this long
Yeah,
at all.
thank you for showing up at least for a couple hours.
Man,
That's great,
please.
man.
Hey, you know
You're the
what?
best.
Thank my wife.
Yeah.
You know
Thank you.
what I'm
What's
saying?
her name?
What's the
Lashana.
Lashana.
Dr. Lashana.
Thank you.
Dr. Lashana Bridgewater.
Thank you, Dr. Bridgewater.
Yeah.
Dr. Lashana Bridgewater, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Leo, he fills in a really good void here.
Yes.
Not to mention he's Mr. Coincidence. Whenever he gets his butt in the seat, something happens. I'm surprised.
Now-
the governor or Cory Booker didn't show up or something
Yeah.
today. It always does when you say that. You're not Mr. Coincidence today. What's going on?
I want you guys to promise me something, though.
Maybe.
If something jumps off, anything, news or whatever, call me, text me.
I'll text you.
Okay?
I will.
Like, you
Okay.
guys are allowed to. I
Yeah.
will answer your call. And if I don't answer the calls because I didn't hear my
Right.
phone.
Yeah.
But
Well, the text
keep
is better
me-
because you can call back when it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like what I am anticipating is, like once mom and baby come home, and then the support system descends upon us, there may be times where I can, jump out for a minute,
Okay.
swing down here, and say a few words or meet a few people. Hey, sweetheart.
How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Well, good
so
luck.
like, I just don't. I don't want you to think. I don't want you to hesitate to call me.
We're going to call you next week when you're not here. When you
Okay.
have the baby, we're going to call you at the hospital. We're going to call you. So,
Yeah,
Don't worry.
You can have me on the interview.
We got you.
Yeah. I'll do it from the hospital. That's how much this means to me.
yeah, I want to hear it.
That's how much it means to me. You know what I'm saying?
And I want to question your wife, too. I have questions for her. Big time.
Oh,
Dr. Bridgewater, I'll write them down beforehand so you know.
Oh boy. Oh man. Ooh.
I question authority, sorry. And she's your authority, and I want to question her.
She's gonna love that. She's going.
I
to.
know.
And she.
I know she will. Who is this? Who is this
Oh,
guy? What is it? Who's this guy you bring?
No. Because I've talked about you guys to her, and she's looking forward to meeting you.
Okay, good.
You
I
know,
am too.
I showed her, I told her, I said, Lefty's the live wire. of the crew.
Sometimes.
No.
When I need to be.
Yeah, but you're the out of between the three of us, you're the live wire.
Yeah. Well, that means loose cannon, though, right? No, I'm not. I'm a directed cannon. I fire directly where I need to.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it lucid. No.
It's live wire.
Yeah,
I'm kind of live.
Because you're very calculating
yeah,
in what it is that you do.
I ruminate a lot.
Yeah, you know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
I admire. Here's the one thing that I don't think people. I haven't
Smarter
heard.
than I look and act.
Wait, yeah. First of all, don't judge a book by its cover.
No, never.
And that's like textbook you. But the second thing is that I haven't really heard this word used to describe you. But to me, I think it's fitting. Brave.
Oh, brave. Thank you.
I do think you're one of the bravest people I've ever met.
You know
and
what it is?
That's including all the people that I have, because the thing is that this has an effect on our livelihood. It's not just about you. It's not. Yeah. And here's the thing. With the challenges from the physical aspect of what we are dealing with, to be able to have the intestinal fortitude to maintain such a relentless amount of, and here's the thing, it's for me. You're doing this for me. You're doing this for everybody other than you.
People that are in bed right now that can't be here.
Yes.
I was in bed for years. I know what that's like.
So,
it's horrible.
And the same, and I attribute the same thing to Jim.
Amazing.
You can't help but be inspired by that. For me, because again, and coming from the environment in which I'm used to working in, and the type of people whom I'm used to working with, I naturally gravitate to those who exhibit those type of
people.
Yeah, those type of qualities. Hence, why I can say that about you. I can say the exact same thing about Jim.
That's what we said about you.
What's that?
When we saw Leo, I'm like, we got to get this guy in the show.
Right.
He's a winner. He's one of us.
Yeah, my wife watches these, and she'll tell you, she can see what it is. She can see what the attraction is for me with y'all.
We're still a work in progress,
we're getting there.
we could show her a couple of shows from last year where she'd see how far we've come. To Lashana, we've come pretty far.
Don't watch last year. Watch this year's show.
Yeah. Well, then in other words, we set
year.
the bar so low, even we have no trouble rolling right over it. But
y'all messed around and
the thing is,
surprised
this year though was different. I had 17 weeks off over the winter, and I liked it. The first Thursday after Thanksgiving, I didn't have to come here. I had a whole new day of the week that didn't exist for anything else, and I loved it all winter, to the point where I told Lefty, I said, listen, we really got to up our game, and I'm willing to give it a month again.
Okay.
But it has to become a viable podcast. We have to be more on point. So what we've tried to do is, we used to be more of it was more comedy podcast, interjecting serious stuff into
informative.
It. But we would interject into the comedy. We'd interject serious stuff. Mm-hmm. Where we switched it around, where now it's serious stuff.
Yeah.
And it's hard not to interject comedy because we're both kind of jerks, and
we're both obnoxious.
Yeah. When something T-Ball, when you was talking about Joint Command, I can't help but go Joint Command. I become Beavis or Butthead, I forget which.
And also, but you know what though,
you can't help it.
And also, you guys have also shown me that I have to be tempered too. I can't be angry.
Well, that's
always intense.
I want that.
Well, this is we're counting on now. We're counting on your wife. We're counting on Lashana to go ahead, and she'll be the one to tell you that, because if she can watch and listen to what's going on, I'd say trust her instincts.
Attitude, direct reflection of leadership. I'm not, and I ain't saying my wife wears the pants in the relationship
you don't have to
all the time. but
all the time.
there's some of the times. You know what I'm saying?
There's times
That
when
implies.
I'm-
That
yeah.
implies.
Yeah.
Well, you know what it is? First of all, it's like what you were just saying, that if you have to recognize somebody's strong suits, and the larger the group, the more strong suits involved, and the smaller the group, they overlap. But even within a relationship of two people, one is going to have strong suits and the other one's going to have others.
Mm-hmm.
And I call Kathy my better 2/3 instead of better half, because 2/3 of the time she's probably better. I'm easy to top though. I'm not all that nice of a person. I try to be cute and flip it and all that, but all of a sudden it's like, well, yeah, if I could make somebody get sick and die and it would help, I would. And I hear that and I go, oh man, that's not a good person.
For me, it's like
better 3/4 maybe. I don't know.
I also
I roll
have
better
a
jump.
9-year-old son.
No,
Who's-
you got to be a
who's-
role model too.
Yeah, whose name is Junior. He's a junior.
Yeah.
So when I'm telling him all this stuff in terms of one day this little boy will grow into a man. So it's my responsibility as his father to give him that basic foundation so that when he goes out into the world, he knows he can stand tall and be confident because he knows exactly who he is and where he comes from. His name is everything.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? And remember when I told you about, exhibiting certain customs and courtesies and stuff like that? And this is what I'm teaching my son. My son has to, he has to learn from his father what it looks like to see 2 men or 3 men have a conversation. He has to know his place. Children are to be seen and not heard when adults are talking. These are basic things. Today,
I heard that a lot.
He worked today. My son worked the camera while we walked into the voting booth together.
Good for him.
And I showed him
Yeah.
how to vote and then cast the
I
ballot.
love seeing people bring
cool.
their kids
And
to vote. That's
because
awesome.
again, I am saying if I'm telling the rest of the city, y'all need to go vote,
You better vote.
and I need to go vote. And then not only that, not just
better.
that, but also we need to rethink and rethink the way what we teach our children. And what I'm teaching my son is how to be a citizen, and uphold his civic responsibility. Because see, my son remembers the days when Daddy was always gone fighting the bad guys.
Yeah.
My son still remembers that stuff. He remembers when I was deployed. He remembers. I still remember him being ripped out my arms when I had to leave to go back to Iraq. I remember that.
And he remembers that.
He remembers that
Sure he
type
does.
of stuff. He'll be 10. You know what I'm saying? But it's just that
He'll remember that forever.
yeah, but the thing is that he knows Daddy was a soldier, and so he remembers how Daddy was when I did the things that I did. And now for me to kind of stop now that I'm out and I see something wrong, this isn't right. So you know what? If it's not right, then we're going to do something. We're going to go out and we're going to make this right. And this is the first step. And you know what? He gets to watch me do it. Not just hear me talk about it. He's watching me do it. So that when I place those demands on him, the fact that he actually saw me and was there and witnessed everything validates the what it is that I'm demanding of him. Standards, setting the standard.
I love my dad. He's been gone for some time, but I gotta phrase it, the perception that my dad was a Korean War veteran, and he taught me excellent math skills, which enabled me to excel at mathematics. Not like the love your wife does, but I'm talking about as long as I was getting an education. But the truth of the matter is he was shipped away to military school in Virginia because high school wasn't working out, and he was actually exceptionally fast. His running fast was his only real skill. So, therefore, afterwards, you go into the military, and it was Korean War, so we did that. The math skills come from he liked playing blackjack. And he taught my older brother and me math at the earliest age to know when to take a hit and when not. And it involved just your basic math, to the point that in second grade, when Mrs. Lacey was asking 6 and 3, and somebody, and how much is 8 plus 2, and I never raised my hand. I was painfully shy. And then she said, how much is 7 and 4, and nobody raised their hand, and my hand just sprang up against my will. And she went, Jimmy, like, oh my God. And I said, 11, hit me. Oh, I heard it. And she went, oh, I would never hit you. You're right. But I would never hit you. And I was so embarrassed I just slunk in my seat. Now, Mrs. Lacey played bridge with my mom. There was two tables of 4.
Give me a brick!
No, listen. There was 2 tables of 4 people. Mrs. Lacey played bridge with my mom once a week.
And she told her that.
We would go to bed before the game began, and I'm laying there looking at the ceiling, almost counting down, raucous laughter downstairs. Jimmy, come on down for a minute. It was like Jimmy, come on, do your clown act down here or something. It was, my mom had me come down, in effect, taking a curtain call for doing that. But the point is it was fun playing blackjack with Dad, and I could do basic sorts of math. And then he also went and taught me, because he loved baseball, not just how to do batting averages, and what it meant when somebody, if a guy had 12 at bats and he was batting this, and he had 3 more, how big would his batting average? And I can still, to this day, basically, like when our 7th podcast, Governor Christie came by for the 2nd time, and I guess we look back at the videotape, I'm like, so he's been by 28.2% of our podcast so far, and that's what it is. That's because your batting average would have been 282 if you went 2 for 7, because it's 141, 1 for 7. You got to know,
See how he
I know
see how
this.
his brain processes.
But it was because my dad liked baseball and he liked blackjack, and
the things we pick up from our parents, Hey, listen, man, like my dad was one of those people. He only knew one way to tell a story, his way, And the thing is that, I remember when my mom had died, and the first birthday after my mom had died, my first birthday after my mom died, my dad called and he said, how you holding up? And I said, well, I said, Dad, normally this would be the time where, my mom would call and tell me a story about, on this day, something new. And
it sounded a little like Richard Pryor for a second there. See, I just had to say that because when I see the playback, when he did a character, it sounded just like him.
So
go ahead.
He goes. So I said. So my mom's, would tell. I said she would tell me a story, something that I'd never heard about the day I was born. And he said, really? And I said, yeah. He said, well. And as I was feeling down, he said, well, since your mom is not here anymore, I'll do it. And I said, really? And he said, yeah. And he said, so the first story I'm going to tell you about the day you were born. Did you know out of all my kids, you were the only one I actually seen born? And I said, okay. I said, what, really? He said, yeah, you were the only one I saw actually be born. And I said, wow, okay. Remember when I told you my dad only knew one way to tell a story?
Yeah.
Okay. So he goes, yeah, man. And when you came out your mom's,
yeah, man.
and
Yeah,
when you came out, it was all,
it was everywhere.
Yeah, and
honest man.
Yeah, you kind of go.
That's what stuck.
Yeah, but see, the thing is that when he was telling me the story, he was because I knew on the phone you could hear. Yeah. And when you came out your mom's, and I was like, and I'm sitting there.
That's funny.
And you know how you go, what? Like my dad had a way of saying things to me, Vietnam vet, you know what I'm saying? My dad had a way of saying things to me that would leave you, the whole looking at the audience like, did you hear that?
Yeah.
And then like that was that was how it's Father's Day this month. It's good to tell a couple Father's stories. My dad, we'd go elbows up on a bar when I was 21 because that's how I could finally relate to my dad because he did like to have a drink, and he was a fun. He never was a bad drunk. He was a fun drunk, and we were talking, and I said, Dad, you and Mom, you lulled us to sleep arguing every night. All we ever heard was, you told me, and it would be like, first. That's how y'all went to sleep.
Yeah, we would go to sleep like that, and it didn't leave scars. But I said, why? Did you have a family? And he went, well, your old brother Rick was planned. You were company for Rick, and Tom was a what the F, and he didn't say F.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the younger one.
Wow.
Wait, repeat that?
Like,
wait.
And I'm like, he goes, your older brother was planned. Rick was planned. You were company, and Tom was what the fuck.
Wow.
So now when I told Rick's like, cool, I was planned, and I'm like, well, at least I was company, and Tom kept going, I'm a what the that was my entry.
Wow, man.
I'm already down the rabbit hole. Might as well try to talk.
Well, look, fellas, I gotta run. I've been saying I gotta run for about a half hour now.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, we're
Thank
gonna have
you.
it wrapped up by
Yeah,
then.
keep in touch with me.
I will. I'm gonna,
and I'll definitely keep you guys
same thing, man.
abreast.
Send out a-
let
send
you
out
know.
a
I'll
text,
send you a text message, letting you know
Yep.
when.
It's a good luck, but it's nothing but good. You don't need luck. It's gonna work out great.
And we're going to call you. We'll call you from the hospital.
Thanks, man. I love you guys.
Yeah, man.
Y'all take it easy.
Right.
And also I'll keep you abreast on everything new happening in terms of who's been getting in contact.
Yeah, man.
All right.
All right.
All right, guys.
Rolling.
Take care.
We're rolling. We're going downhill now.
Thank you, Leo Bridgewater.
Bridgewater is not in the house any longer. Leo Bridgewater has left the house. Yeah, so,
Mr. Haney, are you going to sit down?
there's something else good. I think it's pretty good. I hope it works out good. I've been invited to be on Capital New Jersey Network, Capital News, I think it is, with former Assemblyman Steve Adubato.
Nice.
Hosting it, and it's the caliber of people who they have as guests on that show. It's the movers and the shakers in Trenton. It's assembly people, and as I was mentioning, and since January this year, the Speaker of the Assembly, Vincent Prieto, was on. Steve Sweeney, head of the Senate, was on. Senate Minority Leader Tom Kaine was on. Another Senator Sarlo, I believe, if that's not an Assembly person. 6 or 7 other Assembly people, U.S. Senator Cory Booker, U.S. Representative Albio Cirrus. These are all people who are on, and now I get to go on. These are also the kind of people who watch the show, people like them, other legislators. It's presented in a very nice way, and I've watched the show on and off for a decade or more. I made mild attempts to suggest I would be a good guest in the past, but it turns out that little thing they put on their online New Jersey network a couple of weeks ago, they looked at that and they said the purpose is to talk further about post-traumatic stress and medical marijuana in New Jersey. So as much as I know about it, I am going to be spending an intense amount of time that I can making sure I can anticipate as much of the discussion as possible and have answers, names, date, places, times, amounts, assessments, everything. I don't want to say the American Medical Association says saying nothing but the truth. But it's hard with medical marijuana because it's such a miracle. People think, well, you think it works for everything.
Yeah.
No, well,
Just
Because
about.
you have
that's
an
not my
endocannabinoid
fault.
system.
It's what I used to say to the MS Society was, where are the patients that say it doesn't work for them? There is a treatment failure population. Where are they? In other words, if the opposition, if the drug czar Barry McCaffrey, if he had MS patients that would say, well, it didn't work for me, he would have trotted them out.
Yeah,
But
let's see him.
But there should be. I mean, even then, it would be acceptable. So all treatments don't work for all people. But to be able to go on that show and look at what these 3 senators, 7 assembly people, United States senator and a congressman, what they said. They'll be talking about a different subject, and they'll say, we have to do everything we can to help, blah, blah, blah. And then I'll know that quote and the date of the show that they were on, and it'll come up in a conversation maybe. Well, like so-and-so said on your January 28th show, and then I'll quote them and I say, now how can that person not apply that to medical marijuana, which he doesn't. This is a man that voted against medical marijuana on Assembly Bill 2537, blah, 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 blah. And I get to do that. Next question, I want to be the guy that if they want to look for the leading expert, they would look to me. I'm not.
Yes.
I'm nowhere near the leading expert, but too long we don't have a seat at the table. So I think this could be the start of something. And it's because of the podcast, not so much because they covered it, but she wanted to talk to a couple of veterans, the original story. And I said, well, we do the podcast every Thursday. And there'll be a few there. Why don't you just come and do it there? And she said that'd be great. So she came to do the interviews, whereas with Jan Heffler of the Enquirer, I gave her, Don Karpuch's contact, and she did a story on him and totally bypassed the podcast, and it was actually cropped out of pictures of him in the Enquirer.
Was?
Yeah, if you look at it, it was a great story, wonderful pictures, but it had no podcast. It looked like he was just wandering the streets of Trenton by himself or something. And it was a good story, so it's not that I resent that. It brought it. We don't need credit other than it fosters getting things done.
It's a hub. You need information, you come here.
Yeah. So what happened with that then, getting onto Steve Adubado's show, taping on the 28th, I don't know how long the delay is, I'm going to be good. And it's then going to become part of not just a resume I could send a link to or crop some of it off, and then eventually get somebody down here to say, so if there's a plan with the cones, Well, yeah, there is a plan.
Somebody said to me, what's the cones for? I said, really? I said, Governor Christie did the Bridgegate thing. They're like, oh, I get it. That's really funny. I get it.
You know where they closed off 2 lanes of access to the George Washington Bridge from Fort Lee, and they had only 1 lane of access? Well, look, 2/3 of the steps are symbolically closed off by cones, leading everybody through one footpath, meaning it's a foot traffic study.
That's this guy. Do you know this is the GWB cones for Chris Christie? Did you realize that?
No.
Come on, you get it? You get it? No, see, they don't get it.
No, I think
I think he get it.
A lot of people do.
I think he got it.
Well, I think people who are Republicans are going to say, I don't get it,
Oh, yeah, of course.
How do you not get that? Come on, it's
They
funny.
got your number.
So
I
do you
will just say I'm Republican and I do get it.
Yeah,
Whoa.
well,
You're Republican?
Yes.
well, Republicans do
Yes.
do get it.
Yes.
Who are you voting for this election?
I'm not voting.
Gary Johnson.
I have not.
Gary Johnson. Gary Johnson.
I'm throwing him.
Gary Johnson.
He called Trump something, right?
Meow, 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 meow,
Meow,
meow,
meow,
meow,
meow,
meow, meow,
meow,
meow. That's for another day when Christie comes to work.
I'm honestly actually very scared for the November election because I don't trust either of the candidates because I'm pretty sure Hillary Clinton will be the Democratic nominee and I'm pretty sure Trump will be
Yeah,
the Republican.
well, do what I'm doing. Vote, but wear a clothespin. No, seriously.
Yeah, there
I'm
you go.
going to have a clothespin on, standing in line, and all the way through. Of course, in my case, I'm going to go in and go, oh, I forgot about him. And then I'm going to come out without a clothespin. I'm not going to tell anybody who. I'm just saying, and I'm going to offer a clothespin. Come on, somebody else here wants a clothespin.
You
But
gotta make a
I
video.
agree. What I'm saying is that's the same thing you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Is it's ever the, I want to say it's a phrase. Lesser of 2 evils.
Well,
I don't
I mean,
it literally.
I don't want to say I'm completely Republican because some of my views are Democratic, obviously. But I've taken the surveys so many times, and it considers I'm like about 60% Republican, 40% Democrat, if you will. I mean.
Yeah, I like when
I don't like labels. I don't like the red and blue labels. I am who I am. I believe what I believe.
I'm a registered Democrat only so I can screw with them during the primaries. But also, I stopped in with Cheryl to the Democratic National Headquarters, walking from the Best Western skyline on South Capitol. We had to walk in a half mile. We go right by the Democratic National Headquarters, so I went on in. And there were a guy at the gate, the guard guy, who do you want to see and why? And I told him, and he's like, well, what? He's all gruff. No, I'm with Cheryl. And I said, well, she's a registered Democrat. I'm a registered Democrat. This is our headquarters, ours. Mm-hmm. And we're here, you know. And the guy, he was a man of color, and he started giving me crap. And all I could think to do to piss him off is, listen, this is almost a civil rights issue. I would assume that you would know better, boy. And I did that to him. And right then, another guard appeared and got in between us because he was going to assault me, and I was going to own the west wing of the Democratic national headquarters. You know, I wanted to sue. I wanted to do that. My point is, I'm a registered Democrat, but that don't mean I'm a Democrat's friend. I'm an equal opportunity mother. When people are going to get in the way of sick people getting the relief, it just turns out more Republicans do it. But I picketed Sarah Miller Memorial wheelchair, and because the of Ocean County Republicans were going to be in and out of there. The guy running for Congress in that district, the Republican Myers, mayor of Medford, I think it was at the time, a debate 6 days before that, and was asked my question. I emailed in about medical marijuana. John Adler got wishy-washy, and are you for it or against it? Oh, I'd be for it, whatever, you know. And then they got to Myers, and he goes, you know, would you vote for it? And he went, no, I wouldn't. And then he was quiet. Now, we've all seen debates. Have you ever seen a 1 or 2 word answer and then they're done? No. They got 30 seconds. They want to pivot and do something. He just said no. Like he didn't know why he was against it. Like he knew he was supposed to be against. So
he's willfully ignorant. That's what he is.
So anyway,
he just doesn't care. He doesn't want to
when he drove in by our demonstration, which said something about Republicans against medical marijuana, and when he drove out, he rolled down the window and gave the thumbs up, and I'm like, what is that? You're kicking my ass. Yeah, or he gave the thumbs up. But what we did was we found that Republicans came over, many, and said the Republican Party isn't against it. It's not like a plank in our platform. And I said, but in every roll call with votes about it, if you find 3/4 or more of Democrats vote for it, yes, Democrats are then for it, and Republicans are against it. The party, more than individuals, and this is the representation, you know, they're not being fairly represented because in a poll, more Republicans support medical marijuana than don't, and that was a poll done years ago. So I kept telling them, you gotta then, when you get a new electee, somebody who's never been elected to, whether it's a council or anything, to take them aside and say, there's going to be no sanctions if you vote your conscience on medical marijuana. You're going to get committee assignments if it's, you know, legislature. You know, orientate them to that. Tell them no. Don't tell me. But the beauty was the young firebrand of a guy who ran that, came out and was in my face. I mean, he was like putting his finger right in my face, telling me I was so pathetic, and you're so effing pathetic. Why don't you get an effing? He wasn't saying effing life. You're so effing pathetic. You know what my comeback was? I said in my best Ron White voice, well, that must be just like looking into a mirror for you. It was, you know.
Kill him with kindness.
Yeah, well, I mean, basically, I was right back at you without that. But I think my buddy trumped him. He said, that's going to cost you another hour, dude. We're going to have to order pizza. So we had pizza delivered to our 3-person protest. And this guy who's a nicotine addict, so he kept coming out, and Mike's like, you want a slice? Nah, I didn't think so. It is so good. You know, we were just on. You know, of course, the joke's on me. They lent him to the Christie campaign. He coordinated the younger vote. He coordinated using technology that older people weren't using then. And he helped get Chris Christie elected. So in the end, he kicked my ass. I mean, what can I say, you know? Mm-hmm. Frankie, if you're ever around, you know, come over to the light side here. We could use you. You know, I've got to be begrudging. I mean, the man did his job. He was better at his job than I was at mine.
Well, I wanted to say I actually got a chance last Thursday to go to the 2 o'clock hearing, I was only able to be there for like about 15 minutes because then I had to run out. But I did get a chance to hear I forget he had the orange shirt. He was sitting here before.
Leo?
Liam.
Yeah.
Leo.
Leo Bridgewater.
Yeah, Bridgewater. That's his last name. But I got to listen to him, and I got to listen to a doctor that testified, and he was so knowledgeable about it. I mean, it was great.
Yeah, Philippe was there.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think so. Yes, I
He
did.
was good enough to talk
I
about
saw
how
Leo.
to say how he tried to commit suicide. And
Yeah, I saw Leo, one other,
brave
him, and
man.
then the doctor, and that's when I had to walk out. But
I didn't
I
see
really
any
wanted
of
to
it,
get the
yeah.
chance to speak though, and say how it helped with my PTSD, but I didn't unfortunately have the chance. But I did get the chance to see Leo, the doctor, and the other veteran that had actually told us that he had tried to commit suicide himself, and it was so sad. But
That's Philippe. Yeah.
I saw all of them looking right at him, and I saw a couple of them back up. Saw
They,
him.
yeah.
And one of them actually did ask. He said, "My only concern is, how it's ingested. Is it
Really?
only smoked?"
You know
And
how
I
it's you know how it's not ingested with a bullet through the temple.
Exactly.
I mean, in other words, it's like, okay, saving people from committing suicide. Well, my concern is it smoked or is it? How do you take it?
How are we going to stop them from dying? By
You know,
smoking or
so-
by
yeah.
edibles?
Well,
I would
that's-
think originally when it was like we're going to put it into a vessel with a
That's the
needle and we're
thinking
going
that they try to
stick
put
it
it
in you.
into.
People probably thought injections in the beginning were an awful way of getting medicine, but it does work. But
it's toxic.
Yeah, but what this person needs to understand is, like in longitudinal studies done with people who don't smoke cannabis or tobacco, who smoke just tobacco, smoke just or smoke both, they found that the people who smoke cannabis and tobacco got less cancer than people who apparently got cancer less than people who smoke nothing. So it's sort of like, even though it's smoked, and you know how you overdose on medicine is it's pills? You can swallow it before you feel it. I mean, I learned that the hard way a long time ago. When I was in college, you don't take more than one pill of something you're only supposed to, and that's why I don't like pills today.
I know so many people know.
It's called self-titration. It's when I tell people, how much cannabis it takes by inhaling it, and if it still hurts, then you inhale some more, and if it still hurts and the objects get rid of pain, you keep inhaling it until one time you realize it doesn't hurt. That's how much it takes. It takes as much as it takes, and you can't know that with a pill. Plus, when you take a pill and then you throw up, you vomit, how do you know if the pill was ingested or not, or in the vomit? Now, I do that with Cheryl all the time. How many times I had to look through vomit to see if there was a pill? Ridiculous, because in those cases, what you do is you don't give another pill, and you find out by the level of pain that you did vomit that one, that's why you hurt so much now. So, smoking has its benefits, but if it was just a method of ingestion, to err on the side of caution would be, you can't give somebody their life back once they've committed suicide. If they have a reaction to smoking, or they took a little too much, if it was an oral medication, and there was evidence, oh no, it's doing more harm than good, guess what they can do? They can pass another law and override that. But you can't get somebody's life back. So just based on that, I think maybe all you do is make it clear that if they vote the wrong way and this doesn't happen and somebody kills himself and wants to blame you, he was worried about how my husband would have taken it and now he's dead. Yeah, repercussions. I'm all about repercussions. What do you mean I'm getting all agitated?
Drug War 2016, Revenge of the Patients.
So it's 1:57. We're almost to the 2 o'clock. About this being the 13th anniversary of the date of Cheryl's passing. The ode to remembrance looks so good under the date of birth, the date of passing, and then the ode. And because it was morning, I was saying it, going out in the sun, that's why I waited till 9:35 to leave. Felt good. It's a good day. It's a good podcast.
What was that? Is that you? Was that you?
Yeah, that was good.
That was good. You got me.
Yeah.
I didn't even see that one. Like a ventriloquist over there. We didn't see Christy today, so we couldn't do our meows.
Yeah, we'll give
You
you.
know,
a
I was
mic if-
practicing that last night too.
Ready. I'm so ready.
I was too. As soon as he walks out.
I can't wait. Meow, 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 meow. Governor Christie, meow, 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 meow. Governor Christie. You get it?
Well, this is Lefty one time called the governor something that rhymes with wussy, but he didn't say wussy. And so now he's meowing like a cat. And, you know, we get to do that. See, right now, you couldn't say the other thing.
Meow, 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 meow. Everyone. Meow, meow,
Meow,
meow, meow, meow, meow, meow, meow. Come on. Meow, meow, meow. Meow, 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 meow. Governor Christie. Ow! Ow! No, that's an ow.
Big shrieky cat.
That's not meow, that's ow.
Wow.
Ow. So thanks to our sponsors, MagicalButter.com. They're giving away a machine every month. This is our last machine. We forgot to take calls today for the Magical Butter machine, but we will next week, we promise.
That has to be during the month.
Yeah.
It's still June next week. Yeah.
MagicalButter.com makes your recipes better. Call 1-800-424-3334, 1-800-424-3334. Be dialing or be touching your smartphone. Fondle that smartphone. God, don't. No. Don't make me say horrible things in front of the State House.
No, he can do
I'll
that
do it.
without.
Yeah, I don't need help with that. So we got brownies, cookies, smoothies, sauces, soups, veggies, candies, salad dressings for your tossed salad. I always stop on this for some reason. I don't know why. I love tossed salad. Don't you love tossed salad?
It's awesome.
It's the best.
Right?
It's the
Not,
best.
not in Australia. Ask an Australian
Definitely
why
need
I
dress-
say that. Never mind.
You have to dress your salad.
Yes. Bobby Flay takes the dressing and puts it around the rim, so when you toss it, it just gets equally covered. Gives you the chills, doesn't it?
You need to lubricate your salad.
Meow.
So what else can you make with the magical butter?
You can make seafoods, marinades, meats, beverages, lotions and salves, much, much more. Magical Butter uses exclusive technology to extract botanical nutrients directly into butter, cooking, oils, alcohol, and lotions. Works with butter tincture, peanut oil, corn, olive, and coconut oil. Sunflower, grapeseed, avocado, much more. I
Wow,
could do this
that's
all
a
day.
lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. This is a great machine. I love this machine. So tell them you hang out with Garrett Angel off the edges of buildings, and they'll give you 10% off, maybe.
And thanks to Garen, we get to give one away each month.
Yes. Steven, thank you. We're going to Dad's.
Cuspelage.
We're going to go to Dad's. We'll be respectful.
That's his cell, yeah.
Paperwork from the state first.
That's the best way to
Let them.
I can't hear you. It's dead air. It's dead air. I can't hear you.
I'd have to talk and say something
I
while
have
you're
to know what
talking
you're
to
saying.
Lefty.
I'll sing.
Yada,
Go
yada,
ahead.
yada,
Yeah,
yada,
just
yada.
scream. Just scream it.
Meow, meow.
I
I'll tell you a story about
Tell us
that
off the air.
now.
Tell us off the air. Tell us off the air because we're going to end the show now.
Okay, yeah, we got to end the show. We got to do it. An ode to remember.
Thanks to our magicalbutter.com. Thanks to William Haney and medical-freedom.com. The flags, with the State of Compassion flags. And your mom's book's coming out this month, or next month. Soon. Very soon. Great book. So thanks to all the patients and fans and friends. JacksonStorms.com. Jenna's Purple Ribbon Journey. Jenna's Journey. Tuffy's Fight. Legalize for Lorelei. Team Alexis. Prayers for Pete. Prayers for Sarah. There's so many.
Too many.
There is too many.
And the list grows.
There's American refugees, which
What?
I never thought I would hear in my life.
On a good day, the list grows. On a bad day, it does the opposite.
Yeah, last year we lost 1 out of 10 patients.
10% of the patients in the program died
600
in the
and
year
change.
2015.
That's horrible.
Yep.
That's a horrible group to be in, and we're in that group.
Yeah.
600 out of 6,000, I believe, died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn. So this is there's patients that didn't make it.
Hundreds.
Cheryl Miller is one of them. She fought for medical cannabis, and today's the day she died. And she
13 years.
13 years.
13 years ago there.
She would have been here today.
Oh yeah.
Totally been here.
Yeah.
Smoke, and she would have smoked.
Well,
She
yeah.
would have listened to you. She would have smoked right here. She would have said, "Jim, I'm
Yeah,
smoking
she
weed right
would've,
here.
yeah.
I ain't listening to you, Jim. I'm not going across the street. I'm smoking right here."
Well,
and you would have said, "Yes, dear."
She did. She did consume her tincture from a hospital bed right in front of the pillars there in
That's legal.
1997.
Yeah, she could do that. But
No. That was illegal as could be.
Oh well,
was
now
illegal.
she could do it now.
Now, yeah.
Yeah. But back then, back then.
But back then, so that's what
And
it's all about.
pictures, and I wish I knew her, and I'm
Yeah,
here
you
because
get to
of
know her
her.
without
I'm here,
meeting
I'm here
her.
because of her,
You-
and I
yeah.
appreciate all the stories and everything. So
Well, thanks for saying
thank you.
so. It is sort of the continuation. It's like being a teacher. You teach somebody something that they can then spread to other people. You get to step back.
Right.
You know, it's just how history works too. You know, learn from others and employ it. So if she gets people to show up, that used to be the message. If she could show up, tell me why you can't. I'm sorry. You know. I mean, one time she passed out while we were on the Beltway in Washington, and no cell phones. Nobody's going to help you in Washington on a Beltway, and she was out for like 15 seconds. I had no idea she was going to die right then.
Oh my God.
You know, and then of course she just opened her eyes and go, "Oh hi, honey," like nothing was going
Yeah.
on, and I'd be all, "Oh my God."
Well, I believe she's here with us now. So
Well, in that sort of way, you know, I see cones out. I
Yeah.
see an offense going on here. I don't see us playing defense while we're here. We are
No.
playing offense.
I think she's laughing at your cone study, though.
You get it? You get it?
Yeah,
You get it? I get it.
cone study.
She gets it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's it's representational.
Yeah.
know.
Thank you. Thank you, Cheryl Miller.
Thank you,
The
Sharon
best.
Miller. Wouldn't be here without you.
No.
Where we are right now.
No.
I know
Not
I would.
nearly
Well,
as far as
actually,
we are.
if it weren't for her, I probably wouldn't be involved, and I certainly wouldn't be here. And you know, who knows where everything else would be. So she kind of got people, and you know, it's hard to tell people that for 8 years we knew Pete Christopher and John Pease in the state of New Jersey.
Yeah.
And that was it. And that was only because they helped us with my walk across state in '93. I didn't see much from after then. So we knew no other activists for year after year after year after year. It was always her. And I kept thinking, come on, I know there are more of you out there.
There's sick people out there.
Yeah, and it took that many years of people being afraid, you know. And it was pretty much after getting arrested first couple times in Washington, then, you know, things took off. So it's good to remember them. And
Yeah.
the ode to remembrance then today is got particular meaning for everybody, I think. For all those who are no longer with us, much like we have Memorial Day for those who served in the military. The ode to remembrance, while being for World War I soldiers originally, it does seem to apply perfectly for those who fought and are no longer here.
Yeah.
But
Big time.
what they leave behind for others to pick up the ball is why we owe them. We owe them yellow ribbons as well, so to speak. You know. Eric, see you later, bro.
Do you know the ode of
Have fun.
remembrance? Are you able to do it, or? do you think?
Yeah, I don't. Every time you do it, I get like a brain freeze, because it you know, I'm in the moment and all. So I'll do next week's. You know, I don't want to read it or anything.
Yeah.
But I particularly like the "age shall not weary them" line. I don't think any more beautiful line's ever been written.
Yeah, I mean, this guy wrote that poem while his buddies were being blown away around him in a foxhole,
Yeah.
and he had time to write this beautiful poem.
Yeah.
And it's actually written in stone
That's a war memorial.
down the street, which we didn't
The
know.
auditorium,
We didn't
yeah.
know that.
No.
That was the craziest thing.
Yeah.
We went down there. We're like, wow, there it is.
And that was the door that we had to go down to for the committee hearing on adding post-traumatic stress. So
How
we
about
walked literally right through the doorway, and it was inscribed over it.
How long after you'd
Give
been
him a mic.
saying
Give him a
this-
mic.
How long after you been reciting this poem did you realize that it was actually engraved in stone
The
right down the
entire
street?
year,
Yeah, hold it. An
Joanne
entire year.
Zito got in
Would you look at
touch.
that?
He said, "Hey, do you know
I'm just
what's
curious there.
So we ended last year's podcast in the rain,
Yeah.
and then went down to see this for ourselves to end end the year.
Yeah.
And we just stood there looking at it, and I could not believe what I was looking at.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Etched in stone, literally.
That's something.
Yeah, and so
That's not a coincidence. That was meant to happen.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It was meant to happen.
All this is intertwined, and it's crazy. We're doing the right thing, guys. For once in our lives, we're doing the right thing. For once. Maybe twice in mine, but once for some of you. So, so as much fun as we like to have, we always end it like this because it always gets serious. It's always, man, it doesn't get more serious than this sometimes. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. We